I got 7 o'clock, so welcome to the December civics lesson. We'll do the roll call first, and then we'll go through the agenda. Denise, are you doing the roll call?
You do roll call. Butch Becker?
Here.
North Henry?
Here.
Eric?
Here.
Dan Boothmiller?
Here.
Carl Prince? Jeff Goodall?
Here.
Jeff Bodenstedt?
Here.
Ray Williams?
Here.
Michael Welch?
Yep.
Warren President?
All right, thank you.
Mike. Mike.
They confuse me. They say Mike, and it might be my name, but might be talking about Mike. All right, the first thing we got at 7 o'clock is the agenda from the Planning Commission minutes on November 13th, 2018.
Two things.
Gotta approve the agenda.
Agenda first.
Approve the agenda.
We'll approve the agenda. Let's go back and do that again.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
Butch. Second, Deb.
All in favor of approving the agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The next item will be the Planning Commission minutes from November 13th. Is there any,
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
any second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the Planning Commission minutes November 13th? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? The Planning Commission minutes from November 13th are approved as submitted. First, the next item will be a subdivision consideration for Deerfield Truck and Equipment, lots 1 to 20, Whitetail Run, southeast 1/4, northeast 1/4, northeast 1/4, southeast 1/4, section 16, township 93 north, range 56 west, hereinafter referred to as Utica, South Township, County of Yankton, State of South Dakota. 911 address is to be announced, Deer Boulevard, Yankton, South Dakota. Dennis Christensen. Mr. Christensen, are you here to present your package or representative for him?
I expect Danny Breck any minute. We could start with this and take a look at what we have in there for your packet. I think this has been a presentation that we have had in the past. It is a presentation we've had in the past. There were requests from the Planning Commission regarding this, and I'll continue and then Danny can confirm anything. I also have the Marises here, which are part of this application later on with their conditional use permit. Two things we were looking at. One is that we wanted to correct the quarter section line so that would be correct. And as you can see, then there's that little sliver of property then that's left there, but that is corrected. And so your preliminary plat has that corrected, and then the rest of the platting is in place. And remember, this is a preliminary plat, so as these individuals come forth, and if they want to do Lot 8, then we can do Lot 8, that type of thing. Now go back to I don't know if I've got it correct for you, which one is the grading plan? Is it the first or might? But go to the grading plan. You have the preliminary plat, and then you have the grading plan. And it's listed on the top.
You mean this?
It's actually, it looks just like the preliminary plat, except the heading is grading plan.
Okay.
Shows the drainage.
And this is regarding the drainage that we wanted to talk about. So for instance, the one we were talking about early on the grading plan, it looks just like the subdivision plat. It has the arrows showing, and it also has the elevations on it. So you can see the topography map and how it works. And for instance, the lot that we will talk about here in a little bit regarding that conditional use permit, where will that lot number 8 is going to drain towards, the entire lot will drain towards Deer Boulevard and go into the ditch in Deer Boulevard and then drains down towards the river. And what elevations we have and where we're at with that entire lot will be established that all the water will drain to the east into the ditch of Deer Boulevard. And in visiting with the applicants, that will be, then they'll talk about that at their application, but that is agreeable. As you can see, I have the resolution sheet signed for the preliminary plat and looking for approval from the Planning Commission so we can move forward with this being signed by the County Commission. And then this would be a valid preliminary plat for future use on this entity, on this property.
So Pat, we've got the questions answered about the road maintenance, is that correct?
The roads will be done that way, yes. That is the specification that we will use for the roads. I wanted to put that in as I'm visiting with some other applicants out there, and the roads that you see that are listed in there will be built to those specifications, and that is from our subdivision ordinance, and the specifications are straight from the highway department,
And who is responsible for this road?
the developer.
Who is?
Will be Deerfield and the people that, it's Deerfield is the ultimate responsibility. If he sells it to individuals and they assume that responsibility, they have to build the road to these specs.
So
But
they're
it's
responsible for
developers.
building the road, scooping the snow off of it, and putting gravel on it when it's necessary?
Yes. Yes. All maintenance by the developer. And we have the roads at specifications. I wanted them a minimum of 46 feet, which includes the ditch, 20, I believe it's 24 feet surface coverage, and the 4-to-1 slope.
So parcel A just increased their footage just a few feet to take that little.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, it was parcel 10 and 9 reduced theirs a little,
Oh,
if I recall correctly.
It moved
Okay.
15 feet, is
Okay.
right here.
Go ahead and represent it.
yeah,
Street.
that's what I thought. I figured you just took that little bit.
Any questions for Danny? Who's representing Deerfield?
Good evening, Dennis Breck.
Yes.
The 14 feet or the 15 feet that you were talking about last time is that little strip along there, just above,
Parcel.
Parcel A.
yeah, of the previously platted. We'll have to figure out how to deal with that when the time comes, but. So your 66-foot
Center
piece
line?
is coming straight across.
In the wrong place, and you get your little belong. This is the piece we're looking at right here.
Yep.
So we're approving a subdivision application, is that correct?
Preliminary plat.
For-
And it's my understanding as we go along here, from the way Pat has this laid out, is we will deal with with the water issue on each one of those. As you can see, it's very flat, so,
Right.
and that,
We did talk about it.
yeah.
Yeah, everything's gonna go out to Deer Boulevard.
Either that or down to Alphonse.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, for this particular.
but this one is going to Deer Boulevard.
Yeah.
So Pat, is this a subdivision application or a plat?
This is a subdivision application, and it's called a preliminary plat. And then remember, preliminary plats allow us to go straight, they can plat each of those lots and go straight to the county commission and get them
So our
approved.
motion should say preliminary plat for a subdivision. So much,
Yes. And you have it on there, Article 4, Section 402.
Weren't they talking about that bike trail?
Something about the grade of the bike trail was too high for allowed drainage down the ditch.
Yeah, they were gonna have to raise that up or something?
Right across the
That's speculative, and once it's in that ditch, it's in that ditch, we have to take care of it, we have to make it go. Whether it's flat or not, we have to make it go down that ditch. That's our responsibility. I've heard many rumors, but I have not seen, and I watch it very carefully, I've not seen that be an issue. A lot of people did not want that bike trail in that ditch because of quote unquote, it was gonna ruin the ditch, but I have not seen it be an issue yet, even in the spring when it freezes. So I've watched it, and how long has that ditch been, or that bike trail's been there? 4 years, if not 5.
Longer than that.
I know it's been a little while. So if that be a case, we will make sure that that still flows, but there is capacity in that ditch for this water.
This, didn't we do there's elevations along here, right?
Yep. I need you to do this when you come tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I believe that, just for question that you had there, when Brant did this, he also did the elevations in that ditch that you'll find on that plat. It's pretty flat, but any questions for me?
So, if there is drainage issues, if it won't overall, how's it gonna be resolved?
I think the number one issue in there is that there's two things that play in there. One is the perk is super high. It goes down almost as fast as it starts to flow over and over and over. The only time we really see the crisis is when the ground's still frozen. Then it wants to run off, and then it will go into the ditch. From everything we're seeing, the ditch has a lot of capacity. Even if the ditch were to fill and still move its way down, it's not going to come. What we're seeing so far is that the capacity in that ditch, even if it were to get full, is still enough to handle what we're talking about letting go in there. Now, and then once the ground thaws out, it's gone. And I've watched that really intently because we watched it a lot for that mobile home park down there once that went in there. And we continue to see that the percolation is higher than the runoff. How would it be resolved? If we did have that, if it does meet capacity, we do have room in there, in that ditch, where that bike trail is. Let me zoom in here really closely. Here's your bike trail. Here's your road. Here's your bike trail. And this ditch here, this is where the county property ends. We have this much space to increase the ditch capacity, if that be the case. This here is very vertical down into here, and then this is vertical up to the bike trail. This could be increased if we need to. And it's not deeper, it's wider, it's bigger. And then from my research with NRCS, ditch capacity can also be used as what you would call retention ponds. And so the ditch capacity in there can actually be a retention pond for a while.
I guess my concern was, if people build houses in there, and all of a sudden water starts backing up in their houses, they're gonna look to the county to resolve it. And we would be subject to handling all the damages due to the flood.
I disagree with that. No, we would not. I mean, in that respect, no, we would not. But we do have responsibility to have that water go where it needs to go. We are not responsible. If there was a major flooding down there in which it did freeze up and it overflowed, that's a 40-inch type of situation. That's a catastrophic. What we would do is make sure, and what we're doing with this plan is making sure we know where that water goes and that we are planning ahead for this. We do have a lot of capacity in that ditch. The only other thing I would say is if we are proved wrong, or if something were to appear here that isn't adding up on our plan, we can put in retention ponds. But so far, the capacity and the percolation and the NRCS handbook that I referred to says that we shouldn't have to do that in this property. Now, retention ponds would be a lot like what they did up around Menards.
Right.
But that's a lot heavier soil with a lot more drainage going into it than this does. Plus, the detention ponds for Menards was also because there's a very large floodplain just below Menards. And the floodplain dictated how much they had to do on their retention ponds. I don't have any floodplain here. I have no designated floodplain here, so we're already working with the FEMA assumption that this is not a flood-prone zone. There's no floodplain that we are having to concern ourselves with, that we are looking at trying to prevent an overcapacity situation. So we have a few things going in our favor. We have no floodplains, we have no studies that are showing us floodplains, we have very high percolation, and we have capacity in our ditches at present time.
Well, something else I think that adds to that is this year we had 44 inches of moisture so far in 2018, and we had no identifiable water issues, because we would have known about that through that mobile home park where they had septic
Yes.
issues prior. We were also flowing 58,000 CFS through the Gavins Point Dam, so we had forced the groundwater tables higher, and we didn't have any drainage issues. So I think that those are points of consideration for that.
And again, I can't emphasize, watching this over the years, the percolation rate in this thing is enormous, is much higher than it is else in a lot of places. It has a very high perk. And we have a relatively flat environment, so a lot of that's going to perk out. Even if it starts to become, like they say, the roofs and things running off, the ditch capacity can be increased if it needs to be.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak against this project? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for this project? No public comments, return it to the planning commission for further discussion? Or a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the preliminary plat for the subdivision of Deerfield Truck and Equipment.
I'll second it.
Pat, did you get that, Zane?
Zane?
Denise got it. All right, roll call, please.
Jeff Olmsted,
Yes.
Zane Williams,
Yes.
Don Henry,
Yes.
Rich Becker,
Yeah.
Dan Gilpino,
I'm the responsible broker, so I need to recuse myself.
Eric Hoy,
Yes.
Jeff Udall,
Yes.
Michael Welch.
Yes. All right, the next item on the agenda is Todd Knodel and Greg Ryken. Knodel. I can guarantee you could have Smith, and I'll probably screw up your name, so I always ask for forgiveness ahead of time. Todd Knodel, Greg Ryken, lots 3 and 4, tract A, law overlook subdivision, southwest 1/4, southeast 1/4, section 7, northeast 1/4, section 18, township 93 north, range 56 west and lots 1 to 5, tract B, law overlook subdivision, northeast 1/4, section 18, township 93 north, range 56 west, hereinafter referred to as Utica Township, county of Yankton, state of South Dakota. 911 address is to be announced, Okie Dokie Lane, Yankton, South Dakota. Mr. Knodel and Ryken, if you can come up and state your name, address, and tell us about your project.
I don't see them here yet. I expect one of them to be showing up. We can start with this thing. This is a preliminary plat, so I have worked with them quite extensively on this. And again, if they show up, that'd be fine, but I do feel we can cover this with what we have here with the preliminary plat. Because it's not a, all-out building permit or request or variance or conditional use permit. This is a preliminary plat that is set up on this property. And it's back here.
Can you make it bigger?
Yep. And currently, Mr. Ryken lives here, and that is Lot 2. And we're going to make Lot 1 right here. And everybody's familiar where we are here. We're at Dewdrop Inn. We're just off the. So this is the law overlooked subdivision. And then we have Lot 3, and we have Lot 4. And then we're going to come down here, and we've got lots 1, 2, and 3, looking at your plan, and then lot
Goes the other way,
4
3, 2, 1, right?
and 5 are in pie shapes.
Okay.
And there's a subdivision ordinance in which he met the road requirements. And the roads will be by easement, but they're easements, and they are in the plat, so there's no argument about those easements.
So where are the roads? is that Kingsley Lane is gonna be extended?
Yes. Yes. This one here. Vacation Drive will be extended and go on up. And then it goes up to a cul-de-sac, and the width on there is sufficient to put in the cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac needs to be at least 47 feet, and that will be on the north end of that lot. And then we have access to the roads to all the lots, and then the building setbacks are established. And then I have the easement to Lot 2 is established within, let's look at this again. Lot 2 is being established or is being accessed through Lot 1.
The Riken lot, too.
Yes.
There's 2 lot 2s here.
Yep.
Right, but future lot 1, is that what you're calling it?
Yes,
That's where the
yes.
access will go down,
Yep.
you drop in lane.
And then he wanted to make sure that Lot 3 and Lot 2 and Lot 1 were not, especially Lot 3 and Lot 2 were not influenced by buildings and building heights, so he put in his 110-foot
Setback?
setback, but that's theirs, but it's in the plat. Because it's on that
Natural slope
slope. Yep. You want to make sure those buildings would be low enough to do that.
And all the lots are big enough?
Correct. They all meet minimum requirements of 1 acre.
So where's the, access to 3 is via that vacation lane. The
Correct.
access to 2 is where?
Cross 1,
Crossed 1.
cross future 1.
Like right up at the edge there?
That's where he is right here.
Yep.
Yep, that's where he goes in now.
Okay.
It's not showing the access across 1.
No,
And I see that. I see that. So there's an issue there, isn't there?
yeah, that's what I was wondering, where we were gonna get out of there.
And looking at this right now, because all of them are accessed, but either he owns Lot 1, he ends up owning Lot 1 to get that access, or we're gonna have to put an easement in there.
But how's 3 gonna get out?
He comes off of
3 gets
Vacation
out there
Road
in the cul-de-sac.
from the west side.
Vacation lane.
Vacation
Oh,
lane
for
goes in.
vacation, okay.
So 1 and 2 are the ones that are,
Oh, I see that.
One's accessed from Dewdrop Inn.
So Pat, one thing I want to make a comment. We have told other people that weren't here to present their package. If it wasn't important enough for them to come here to explain it, and now we have questions, that we should set this aside, and then when they call you tomorrow and say, hey, how did it go? Well, you forgot to show up, so come next month and then tell us about it. That's what I think we should do.
I suspect that Mr. Reagan's got a long sail on his sail.
Because he was supposed to come. I asked him, but you're right. If he comes in later, we can hear it.
I would do that, but
Okay.
in keeping in, something that I've tried to do is I've tried to treat everybody, as we looked at their package, the same. So if we told somebody before, and it cost them money because they had to do whatever else, but we made them come back. So I think if you don't show up, then you should come back.
Now, do you need a motion to table this, or are we just gonna let
I
it?
still have a question. Pat, on this sheet here, we've got lot 4, 5, 6, and 7. Is that,
Just remember, that's a sketch plan. That's just a sketch. They started out with that, saying, is this going to be suitable? Are you going to be okay with this? And then they came in with the preliminary plan. But I agree with Mr. Welsh that we have a question now. This isn't, and we have always been consistent with making sure the applicants were in, and I did ask the applicants to come in.
So I'm open, if they do show up, that we give them the consideration, but right now I'm like, they're not here, so other people that are here, we should move forward. And I guess this would be
Continuance.
tabled, but we could reopen it again tonight.
We can do a continuance, and if they show up tonight, then we can hear it. If we do it, or we can do it to the next meeting.
I'll make a motion that we continue this until next month with the condition that if they show up later, that we will hear it.
I'm with you on that. I need a second.
Second.
Denise, can we have a roll call on this? A continuance on Riken Canodal?
Yes.
Butch Becker,
Yes.
Dan Miller,
Yes.
Gary Coic,
Yes.
Don Henry,
Yes.
Jeff Odenstein,
Yes.
Butch Becker. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I already got you. Zach Williams.
Yes.
And Michael Welch.
Yes. Okay, that makes that one easy. So the next item on the agenda is Jeff Coster, lots 34 to 40, Block 4, Sunrise Edition, southwest 1/4, southwest 1/4, Section 10, Township 93 North, Range 55 West, hereinafter referred to as Mission Hill South, County of Yankton, State of South Dakota 911. Address is to be announced East Side Drive and to be announced Oak Street, Yankton, South Dakota. Mr. Coster, or representative, if you're here to present your project? I'm here. All righty.
While Jeff's coming up, I want you to know you've got two different things in front of you. You've got a preliminary plat, and you also have the drainage plan in front of you. And the drainage shows the arrows and the drainage arrows and where they're expecting that water to go off that lot and how it will drain off the properties. So you see both of those?
No.
Okay, so you got, and there'll be headed, it's a heading, drainage plan.
Not in here.
Right here.
And then on the top, it's preliminary plan.
Another whole sheet.
I think it's not in here.
Wait a second, is this called Sunrise? It's a single sheet, it's in the back.
Is it?
Looks like this.
No,
No,
Okay,
we've got the plat plan, it looks like that, not the drainage.
okay. Okay,
Sorry.
it's a relatively easy drainage.
I have one extra.
we'll pass her around.
Here it is. It's in the,
Yes, it's in the back of the thing.
yeah, here it is.
It's in the back of the white.
It's on the back of the,
It's Mr. Coster and his LLC's name's on there, and it's on page
There we go. On the back.
it's three, page back on page 3.
In this packet?
Yep, yes.
Okay. Okay. Should I read this?
Not all
or-
of them have it yet.
Okay.
yeah, I got only about 4 pages.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, it's in a separate thing.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
what's in the packet. You're right.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's the
two
one that's titled,
agendas.
yeah, it's Jeff
Yes.
Coster and his
Yeah, you
LLC.
got this one.
That's
Now
what it
find your Coster. That's
Zappa
what's regarding the
LLC?
plat.
is. Yeah, and it's page 3 on that.
Right
There
there.
we go.
It's right, there it is.
Okay.
Copy it.
That's what I thought it was.
There.
Yep. Got it.
Drainage.
All right, yes, sir.
Good
Tell us
evening, how are
your
you?
name and,
Jeff
why
Jeff
you're
Coster, 102 Crestview Drive, Yankton, South Dakota. Here to answer your questions, and I think they have everything that I have, right, Pat?
Tell us about your project.
Okay. So Sunrise Development is an 8-acre commercial development park, carefully laid out cohesive plan for the end product to be modern, clean and beautiful, and well landscaped. The first building to be erected is our own building. Our own offices to set the precedence of what the rest of the project will look like. Please see the rendered drawings, which should be in your package.
Which one of these buildings is yours?
It
Blue,
would be
green, or
the
red?
blue one. Okay,
Southeast corner, correct?
correct.
Might I ask you what your business is?
Right now, there's spec buildings. There's 4 offices on the corner of that building. The center is gonna be retail of some sort. All the frontage lots are the same size, as well as the 3 side lots that are facing east. The frontage variance requested is the same as the buildings to the east and the west. They were planned out to maintain the best eye appeal and cohesiveness for the property and the traffic, as well as creating an upscale environment for our residential neighbors to the north.
Our lot variance request is also in step with the commercial properties in that area. We have went to great expense to make sure all water drains and flows freely to the south, east, and the west, so that all lots involved present and future will not have a water drainage issue. There will be covenants in place to ensure a clean, good-looking commercial environment.
So your businesses are gonna line up with what is the Humane Society there to the east, correct?
The Humane Society and James Steele,
Right?
both are the same distance off that highway.
They're gonna be right on the north side of 50.
That empty lot there. So you'll have access to Oak Street and East Side Drive, correct?
Correct. Those should be on your plat too, Deb, the entrances.
The first thing we're considering is the plat, is that correct? Pat? Preliminary plat and the subdivision application.
Jeff, I have a question on the entry here. It looks like the access off of Oak Street is going to come on the back side of the buildings. And there, looks like there's, but for the pictures, there's gonna be a drive around to the front,
Correct.
and the back side is for your servicing, I mean semis,
Correct.
trucks and such,
Deliveries and,
deliveries, because they're
Yeah.
not gonna make that turn to the front. I see there's some pictures showing trucks, delivery trucks on the back now.
yeah. They can pretty much drive all the way around it if they choose to do so.
Jeff, do you plan to have in long term painting and green area?
To be very honest with you, I have no idea what we're gonna do with that. But yeah, it's gonna be grass. We're gonna seed it into grass for now and
In your landscaping plans, or as demonstrated here with the trees and the grassy areas there,
correct.
any idea what kind of trees you're gonna plant?
I do not. It's in the covenants, they have to have so many shrubs and trees per square footage of building.
And you're gonna follow the sign ordinance with a nice looking
Correct,
sign?
yes.
Doesn't show one, but,
Yeah, it does.
no, they're gonna be up, oh, out there.
There's a sign up front.
Okay. You'll have signs on the building designating what they are too.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Jeff, I got a question to ask you that's been kind of rumor going around. Are you gonna put in a fireworks deal there, making fireworks or anything like that there?
Gotta love Yankton, don't you?
What was that?
You gotta love Yankton and the rumors, right?
The rumor mill.
I've heard grocery stores and truck stops, and we are in the fireworks business. People don't understand. I'm in two different fireworks business. We do display shows for cities. That's the big stuff that nobody can buy. And we're also in consumer, which is your basic fireworks stand. So that property does qualify for a fireworks tent, fireworks stand, retail building. We probably will have one there at some point, and that's a state permit thing. It just has to be out of the city limits, but it's no different than the dam fireworks building, or I have one right now next to Dakota Archery.
Yes,
Same thing.
yep.
It's 10 days a year, no storage, and consumer fireworks. So,
Just to qualify that, it will take a conditional use permit for him to do that,
Yeah,
and he's not applying for that today.
no, he's doing the development preliminary track. Any further questions? All right. You can
Okay.
sit down and
Thank you.
we'll process to the next part. Any,
thank you.
thank you very much. Anybody in the audience who would like to speak as an opponent against this project? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak as a proponent of this project? No public input, I'll return it to the plan. Yes, sir.
I just had a question.
So if you come up, state your name and address and proximity to the project.
I'm Carl Robinson. I live at 1505 Sunrise Drive. And I just had a question about lighting. I know when they put the lights in for the car lot, it was rather unpleasant in my backyard in the night. It was like staring into the sun. And I was just concerned how the lighting would be, you know. And then, like, if you approve these, does that also qualify for the green lot? Or is that something, a different business come in there, would have to go through the zoning process also?
So the plat right now would be as it's laid out, and then the back half of that lot would be a conditional use permit
Anything.
as it's developed.
So is, if.
It's an undeveloped lot right now, the way it's presented. There's nothing going in that big lot.
Right, but,
But the lighting's gotta be all downcast lighting.
okay,
That's part of it.
yeah, it's not gonna, I
Security
mean, it was
lighting on
like being on the
buildings.
surface of the sun in my backyard when they had those. Okay, that's all I got. All I know is, seems like everything Jeff does, he does very well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments from public? Return it to the planning commission for further discussion.
Okay, so I want planning commission to be aware. This is contingent upon whether you're gonna do a variance. Okay, this is a good preliminary plat. It's a good thing to work with. This is what we're going for. But you can make a motion contingent upon the hearing that you're going to come up to that allows the variance for a lot size and for setbacks,
Which is set for
which is,
three
yes, which is tonight. So you can make a motion that just says contingent upon the motion that will follow regarding the variances for setback and lot size.
Okay, I'll make that motion that this preliminary plat for Jeff Coster on the Crestview, from Crestview Drive, that the,
Subdivision.
on the subdivision be approved, contingent on the upcoming Jeff Coster Zaba LLC application
For variances.
for variance.
I second that.
Roll call for the preliminary plat for Jeff Coster.
Butch Becker,
Yes.
Dan Guzzo,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Zane,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Mike, Bruce.
Yes. All right, that takes us to Scott Sorensen. Applicant is requesting a variance of minimum lot requirement from 20 acres to 5 acres plus or minus 5.7 acres in the agriculture district in Yankton County. Said property is legally described as Tract 1, Turkey Creek Edition, West 1/2, Northeast 1/4, Section 16, Township 96 North, Range 54 West, hereinafter referred to as Turkey Valley Township, County of Yankton, State of South Dakota. The 911 address is 44855 293rd Street, Irene, South Dakota. Mr. Sorensen, if you or your representative are here for this project?
Not absentee.
Can we have a motion for continuance?
Motion to.
Just a minute, let's go over
Continuance
this.
to next month.
Okay,
Second.
this has been a long time. I've been working with these people for quite a while. This is let me just go over a little bit. I do know what you're gonna say, Moose, but I want you to at least know I want you to know what I'm working with here. So you're at least getting a little bit briefed. So, in Turkey Valley, this came up on Change Finder. And these individuals built a shed, too close to the lot line. And as we pulled it up, we recognized that it was a farmstead plat. And so to show you what we're working with here is that we found it being a farmstead plat, and so we stated that you have to come in and fix this. And they said, we discovered this earlier this summer. I would say it was probably, let's say, June. And they said, we're going to have to wait until we can get our taxes paid and we can get all up to date, because after we pay our taxes, then we're allowed to go ahead and replat this and we can redo this. This is the lot as it sits today. We ended up with these buildings being too close to the lot line when they built them. And so we said, I believe it was this one that got built. So we said, you're going to have to move your lot lines, and that's what we're doing. It's that simple. They are moving their lot lines so that this 75-foot will now exist. And this is what we're doing. Now, they can come in.
The land anyway.
Yeah, they own all of them.
Right.
Yep. So they own everything around it, but they made this, we would never do this today. I'm sorry, but we wouldn't do this today. We would make them, remember how we do things? We say, we want you to go clear over here, we want you to go over here, we want you to go here. So we would have not created a lot like this. This lot was created by us April 11, 2006. And so we weren't paying attention to the lines. And then he came in and started building, and he thinks he's got the world out in front of him, and he doesn't. He's got these artificial lines here. Well, he's a little frustrated too, but it's the rule. And I have to say, you got to make it 75 feet. So the plat that you have in front of you, they went ahead and had made after they got their taxes paid, and they were able to come in now, and now they're able to move forward. Now we're a little frustrated they aren't here, and you can certainly bump this to next month, but this has been a long project for us, so that's up to you.
I think that since the discussion's been going on for a long period of time, and all we're doing is adjusting his lot, it's not like we're creating a new lot, we're just adjusting the lot line. I think we should move it on. Pass it.
And I can certainly make sure they're here for the Board of Adjustment, so that but they have been very cooperative. They're busy people. They have worked, she has tried to make this work, and they just thought they had the world in front of them, and they don't. They got an artificial line.
What was track 1A even created for, financing or something?
I think so.
Probably.
I think so.
Go to the house.
In fact, let me see here. It was created, the request is,
The other issue here is that they build it without coming in for.
yep, and they're getting fined. They're getting fined the $100 for that, and they do have to come in and get the building permit after I get the lot line corrected, because otherwise I have to give them a variance on the setback. Either I give them a variance on the yard setback, or I make them move the line. I'd rather get the line moved and make the thing work right.
Right. Where's the line gonna move to, or is this?
It went north. It will move,
North?
That's the old line.
that's the old line. If you look at your thing there, it moved,
Has to move that one,
it moved what? It moved almost 100 feet to the north. If you look at your plat,
Yeah.
you can see the dotted line, the whole thing's 401 feet, and they moved it almost, so what you're looking at there is about 300 feet, and they added another 100 feet to it on the north end.
I'm with Deb, since they own the land around it and they're making improvements.
So I'm not going to condone that they missed it, but they do have to make sure they come to the board. If you want to keep your consistency, I can bring them back next month.
I'll continue with my motion that I made, that we move this to next month, and that they come in full compliance with everything.
is there a second?
Somebody's gonna second?
Second on Jeff's motion?
Wait, I wanna hear it again.
I made the motion that we continue this until next month, and that they come in compliance with everything,
Compliance with what?
with lines and lots and,
That's already done, Jeff. It's already done. They're in compliance. All they're trying to do is move the line.
Yeah.
They've been fined.
They're going to be in compliance when they move them.
Plat approval.
So is there a second?
Is there a second? Motion
rescind it.
fails on lack of a second.
Make a motion that we approve the variance of minimum lot requirement from 20 acres to 5 plus or minus 5.7 acres in an agricultural district for Mr. Sorensen to come into compliance with the setback.
I got a question for Pat first. Pat, you said that we would never do a lot like that now. We would move it
Yep.
to the east, move it to the west. Why aren't we doing that in this case, just to get it?
That's what I was wondering.
Why are we doing it now?
Yeah, why don't we just
Why
do it
aren't
now?
we? Including the tree line.
Why don't you go over to the west?
Because the only reason he's out of, the only thing he needs is a variance.
To
Yep.
the north.
But if you're if you're doing a new survey and stuff, why not just do it the way you want it, be done with it?
Wouldn't that make it too big for the financing and stuff?
That's what I think happened.
The one over 10 acres.
I think the financing,
Financing's already done and it won't get approved.
no, it did affect it. He had to go, he's still mortgaged. So that was the other piece of the puzzle here, is that they were, I'm not gonna say that I would like to see that whole thing too, but the financing said they were, how would I say that? They were playing a factor in how big a lot we made there. But I can do that. My feeling is that it did grab what it was supposed to do. This I'm disappointed in, but I can make that move. I can make that go too. That's not,
Mr. Chairman, I call a question. There's a motion on the floor.
so that is why I would do that. Are you in discussion?
No.
No, I
Okay.
second
No,
it.
Dan seconded.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. This is on the, basically, doing the administrative action tonight on
Now
Scott,
you can have discussion if you want.
on Scott Sorensen's. So, back to the plan commission on the variance back to the plan commission for discussion on this. It's an administrative action. Is there any further comment? I think this is different than the other, whoever wasn't here, because this is basically an administrative correction and not a deed development.
I agree.
Doing it to come in, to become compliant.
Right, but it's not like we're doing a new subdivision or something else, we're doing an administrative correction.
And we're moving it closer to the size. It didn't change the size enough that it's gonna change his financing.
Correcting his setback.
Any further discussion? Denise, can a roll call on Scott Sorensen administrative action variance for the property?
Okay, and I have Deb that made the motion, and second was Dan, is that correct?
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jeff,
No.
Zane,
Yes.
Butch,
Yes.
Don? And, Mike.
No.
Three noes and 5 yeses.
Motion passes.
Who did you have in for the motion? It was Deb.
Deb,
It was Deb.
Well, I have Jeff made the motion to continuance and there was no second, but then Deb made the motion to go
Yep.
ahead with Dan as second.
all righty. So the next
We have
thing
to do the plat.
is the plat on the same consideration. The plat consideration is track 1A Turkey Creek Edition, west 1/2, northeast 1/4, section 16, township 96 north, range 54 west, hereinafter referred to as Turkey Valley Township, county of Yankton. 911 address is 44855 293rd Street, Irene, South Dakota.
Make a motion that we approve the plat for the track 1A Turkey Creek edition.
I second that.
This is administrative action that follows on the preceding variance. Any further discussion on the planning commission? Roll call, please. Denise?
Deb,
Yes.
Dan,
Me?
Dan.
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jeff,
No.
Zane,
Yes.
Butch,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the next item is 715, Matt and John Morris. Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for self-storage facilities in a lakeside commercial district in Yankton County. Said property is legally described as Lot 8, Whitetail Run, southeast 1/4, northeast 1/4, section 16, township 93 north, range 56 west, hereinafter referred to as Utica South Township, county of Yankton, state of South Dakota. The 911 address is to be announced, Deer Boulevard, Yankton, South Dakota. either of the Morrises here to present their project? All right,
Good evening, Matt Maris from Hartford, South Dakota. We are here for conditional use for storage units that we plan on constructing the lot. We've been working with Denny and the Christiansens throughout this process. We were also here for a meeting a couple months ago,
right.
and apparently we've got our drainage issues worked out, and we're here to answer any questions you have for conditional use tonight.
So you're making 2 buildings here?
There'll be 3.
3, okay. Oh, I see. So you'll have 2 that are the total width of the building and 2 that are, or one that's got butt to butt.
Yes, yep.
One access onto Deer Boulevard,
Yes.
is that correct? So are you between the trailer park and those homes, or are you north of those homes?
Lot 8 on the previous plot.
Oh, you're lot 8.
He's right.
So it is right there in that between.
He's right.
Yeah.
Right up above.
There's that little strip of ground and there's.
Isn't there somewhere in there called a fishing hole or something?
No, that's further south.
Fishing hole's way down there.
down.
He's right in here.
This is almost directly
Yep.
across from Stringers almost.
He is lot number
Right across
8.
from the Mustang.
8.
Yeah, okay.
So he's
I'm
lot
with you.
number 8.
Yep,
So you got your 2 houses, you got the little teeny strip of ground, because here's the 16th line, and then you got 2 lots, and he's the next one.
okay, so we got the drainage taken care of, you've got landscaping facing Deer Boulevard.
Yes.
Looks like you have some bushes planted, or are they the skinny trees like you got along 52?
Oh, they are the skinny trees that will eventually turn into bigger
With
trees.
any luck? that the
With
deer-
any luck,
With
yeah.
any, the deer don't eat them?
Exactly.
Even the bushes are trees? Even these,
We have some shrubbery planted and landscaping with rock next to the
we
buildings,
like
I
it to
believe.
look good, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Are they gonna be the same tan color as your other ones?
We haven't decided on a color scheme yet. They may be, but whatever tones we choose will be,
Pleasant.
earth tone. Yes.
Pleasant.
Yep,
Earth tone.
You have downcast lighting as well on the side of the buildings?
we do.
You don't want to make them like the Seattle Seahawks uniforms last night?
No. I never saw them, but I've seen some of their others, so.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
We got one more thing. When we do this, when we come across this road here, and we come across the bike trail, you do know that I need more support in that bike trail.
In what
In a manner that that bike trail has got no
Base.
base on it.
Yes.
So we do, and let me get back to the mic. So many of these approaches, when we do bike trail approaches, they do a beefing up on that approach. And that's what we'd expect on that bike trail.
And we'll need a culvert as well.
Yeah.
So what we would probably propose for that is, as we've got to layer culvert through there so that we don't impinge on any drainage from the north, that we would actually convert that asphalt into concrete up and over our approach. Asphalt it just doesn't hold up like concrete
No,
does.
the
And,
bike trail is obviously
yep.
not.
and we
beefy
pour
enough.
concrete for a living, so.
And those spit wheels don't weigh much anyway.
Right. Anything else, Pat?
Thank
Very
you,
good.
Mr. Morris. Anyone in the public that would like to speak as an opponent or against this project? Anyone? Dennis, name and address.
Dennis Breck, 264 Marindale Avenue. I just want you guys to realize the buildings across the way along 52 to the north, those 3 long buildings there, that's their buildings. And so you can see they run a nice, clean, well taken care of operation.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, and I think you're going to find that brush, the trees and so on, will grow there much better than where they're at across the way, because that's where that cement plant was.
They're still alive along 52. I mean, they just don't look like they're growing very
That's some pretty tough land along there. That's where that cement plant was, so this one should work better. Thank you.
Any other proponents? If there's no other proponents, any opponents who speak against this project? No public discussion, we'll return it to planning commission.
I think the major reason we turned him away before was because it didn't have a drainage plan.
Right,
So
that's
he
what I was
came-
gonna say
That was
too.
basically done except for that.
Well,
He came
that-
back with a drainage plan, he's got an answer for the ditch, culvert, overpass.
I think you're right.
Is this the time when you want to address that we usually require down lighting on the security lights and that on the buildings?
Yeah, I guess we could.
That was asked
I
and
was
answered.
already asked and answered.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion. We approve the conditional use permit for the self-storage facilities, and including the downcast lighting and the fact that they'll take care of the approach going across the bike path. And the drainage will all go, according to the plan, east of the property.
Second.
Roll call Denise.
Butch,
Yes?
Don,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes,
Zane,
Yes,
Dan,
And the applicant's responsible for over shoulder keys.
Eric,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. The next applicant is Curtis Oliver. Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to build a campground in the Lakeside Commercial District, Yankton, Lake District, Yankton County. Applicant is requesting a variance of maximum building size requirement to provide park mile construction facility from 1,200 square feet to 11,500 square feet in a moderate density rural residential district. Said property is legally described as north 123 acres, northeast 1/4 except lots 3, 5, 6, block 1 except lots 2 to 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, block 2 lot overlook, and except tract A lot overlook subdivision, section 18, township 93 north, range 56 west, hereinafter referred to as Utica South Township, county of Yankton, state of South Dakota. 911 address is to be announced, Welcome Drive, Yankton, South Dakota. Mr. Oliver, glad to see you come back this evening.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. Well, we're back on continuing where we left off, and there was a lot of questions on what, where, and why, and I think we've accomplished all that. Because I had no other checklist to go by, we gotta go by a campground guideline. That's what the rules and regulations I gotta have, so. Going right down the list on them. The area encompasses enough ground. The site plans, I got a site plan, everybody should have one. That's showing exactly with measurements.
you know, regarding that, you've got a plan that's got, squares. I mean, you didn't.
And that was for my own use for that, because we went and incorporated electrical on there on one, we incorporated sewer on that. So that was my engineer just doing the
Okay,
clean
so
ones.
if I may interrupt you, how many of these park units do you plan to put on each one of these squares?
8,
8 on each square?
yes.
That's like from the previous, like this is what
Sketch that we had
before.
6, correct.
So there's gonna be 8 now.
They're still about the same square footage, we just moved the roads over a little bit.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So the placement of the campground on each lot, you have that, and we got measurements. The location of all the utilities, we got a water plan in there. There's a temporary electrical plan. I went to BY Electric, and they actually drew up what they was gonna do. I said we could go to an engineer, and he says, well, let us look at it first, because we're gonna build it. So he has just built the first phase, and he said they have plenty of power for it. And we've already incorporated it on the lots to not coincide with the water and sewer and everything, so nothing crosses over each other. Location of the dump station, that's on this site right here. On this one over here, we have, on our plan here, we got dumpsters set back here in the private area.
Could you, maybe we could set that
Set
up here,
that one out
so we
here,
can,
or over here.
Yep.
okay,
So the
what-
location of the dump sites are right here. So these all will come over here and access that dump site from back into here. So it's
That's-
privately, it's fenced, it's back in the storage area.
so that's a dump site for,
Dumpsters for your garbage, for your household garbage. Yep.
so each of those little red things that are on there, is that a porch or what?
We have, those are patios out and back,
Okay.
yes. So we drew in a patio, we finished one site. We drew in a patio on there, we put in some flowers for our landscaping. And that'll come into play when we did our guidelines. You know, and in our guidelines, we got a strict one. We got to go 3 foot all the way around the unit, all the way around the camping pad. You're allowed to have a fire pit on that, no gas.
You are allowed?
A fire pit, a
Okay.
gas fire pit. We have no open fires. Gas,
Open wood.
nope. We got gas fire pit or a grill, gas grill. Those are the 2 items that you can have.
Okay,
So we'll go down the line. I got type of location of the signage. So we did a front entrance coming in the sign here. I mean, we're gonna have a nice looking sign coming in, our gated. You know, that's gonna also be
same
our
access
gate.
that was there or a new one?
Correct. We're utilizing the same one that's there. We got approval, well, it's a state approved one there, so.
So when they come in that area that's there where that guard house is now, you go all the way up and around?
No.
No, the guardhouse is over here.
We
Right,
actually access right off the highway.
oh, I see.
There's
This is its own separate entrance that has nothing to do with
Okay.
this over here.
There is a farm
Yep.
entrance there.
Yep.
Yeah, I've
And
seen,
we have a utility access here for, you know, garbage dumpster and maintenance and stuff like that. That won't access through the gate. So type of outdoor lighting, you can see a few. What we did, we lit up the streets a little bit. We put some here. Those are all down lighting. We got coming down the street, you know, for access to come in. Everything's a one-way lane. We're all gonna go clockwise all the way around. So this will be 2 lane here, you know, in and out, but this will all be one lane, one way. We reduced the size to 11 or 12 foot on the side roads, so we have no on-site parking, no street parking and stuff. We will utilize a little bit of, a couple of these areas, like right here on this, on the end here, we'll be able to put like 4 or 5 extra parking spots in there for visitors. But then the rest of the overflow parking is gonna come up in here and then park up in here.
okay.
All campground activity will be ingress and egress from Highway 52.
Correct. There's gonna be another gate actually at this storage back here. At this storage right here, there'll be a gate across here also, so there'll be no access through here and out. That's, these 10 residents here will use Welcome Drive.
And that's what we did last month.
And for that HOA, what we did last year, that ends here. This ends that development.
Yes.
This ends that development here, and this is strictly a commercial development.
How far is that between that big building and the beginning of that, of those first?
From here to here?
You
No,
know,
from the, to
from the
the
back
first
of
little
those,
house.
the back, like the patios in between
Oh,
that.
there's, roughly, there's probably about 200 foot.
Oh, okay, yeah, it doesn't look.
Yeah, no, we kind of crammed everything in there, you know,
I can see
to,
that. That's
we put some trees in there just to kind of decorate it, because we're gonna put a separation there. But again, we got that drainage ditch going through there, so there's actually, it's a 60-foot lot. There's a 20-foot easement for water. There's a 24 ingress, egress easement. And then we have probably 45 foot to the house yet, so we're just shy of 200 foot.
And if emergency vehicles do come up here, they do have the ability to turn around in here and get back out.
They can, correct. But they'll use Welcome Drive, or all the lots that are designed there, they got one road access.
Kurt, can you fill him in on your drainage, on your septic tank? Where it's gonna, he wasn't here last.
Septic tank or drainage?
Septic tank,
Okay, you have a septic tank plan?
Yeah, they do.
yeah.
It's the next one.
Yep.
So,
If I remember, 6.
And that septic tank plan, it was Scott Hippo, I think, in Pier. with the
DNR.
state, correct. So he's aware of our plan. So it's all got to get approved by him for what we're utilizing on that. It's all septic tank systems.
And you said about 6 units per tank?
4, that's why we went 8. It worked out better for us to put another one in there. We got 4 tanks per unit, and we could create with the
Or
drain
4
fields.
units per tank?
Correct. They say 4 tanks per unit?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
If you have your-
Yeah, 4 units per tank. We didn't want to overcrowd it. We thought about 6, and then we were getting too big a tank in there, so we divided it, put 2 tanks, put 4 units, moved it over a little bit.
So those are like 2,200 gallons, 2,500
1,200 with 100
discharge.
foot
100 foot.
on each 4 units, correct. And then we have a rock fill underneath, which will double it. And then again, those are all approved by the state. That's all. They're going to give me a blessing, or they're going to tell me what we got to tweak to do. I got to have a permit for that.
And I am in communication with Scott Hippel, and he is the DNR representative for that, and we are in conversation.
So the one, I guess the townhouses didn't apply because it was 10,250 foot, the lots. So we had to incorporate 2 of them, and that comes into HMO on that.
Okay.
And these pictures in the back are some different models.
Those are models that I had. I had them pictures that I didn't bring last time, and I copied them for you. I got cleaner, more photographic pictures with me of those units that look a lot nicer.
They look a lot nicer.
Yeah,
Better
and
than black clouds.
and they're landscaped well. There's some money spent around them, and we put that in our covenants is that you have to have 4 foot all the way around. And you're allowed a fence. I think when you went through the covenants, is if you had a chance, I hope you did. We're utilizing 3, one kind of fence, 3 different colors. We're not having a whole bunch of different fences, so it looks, everybody's allowed to, put some privacy on their patio if they want.
So the 3-foot space you were talking about, I mean, this obviously, is this the park unit owner's landscaping, or is this a common area that you're like?
Nope, that's their landscaping area there. I'm giving a 16 by 16 patio out the back of each one. I'm doing them all consistent with concrete. We want no wood decks.
Okay.
I have no wood structures at all on the outside of that.
So they're not gonna put a pergola on top of this patio?
Nope, because there's rules and regulations against that. We got no tin, no wood structures, no awnings,
Blue tarps?
no blue tarps. So the other was we kind of addressed that situation with the dean and our septic tank system. A topographical map, you have a copy of that in there. It shows our drainage. There's been a little adjustment there around the buildings. We've filled in behind the dam and started the drainage system, for the whole set of property. We got to take a lot of water all the way from the north there a mile. So we've done an overflow system on the stock dam and created it so it worked down through everything real nice, and it exits out on Highway 52. So state campground permit, I was told that it's not a campground, I don't need a permit, but I will get one. They say I'm not gonna need one, but they'll issue me one, so I don't know what that's about, but I will address that. We had that conversation.
That's what we have in our rules.
Okay.
State says that if you're not daily, they don't need one, but we like them on our end.
So with what we've done, my understanding is they can't deny us from what we've got accomplished here. So that should not be a problem of getting if you require one. Ingress and egress on traffic pattern, I think we've addressed that a little bit. It's gonna be gated, so. Setbacks, all lots on the campground pads, we're all set back, as far as the lots, they're 60 foot in depth, from our lot lines and stuff, so.
And is there a place for like 2 cars per unit?
2 per unit, that's it. Yep, you have 2 vehicles. Landscape plan, we've addressed that in our rules and regulations, and then we're gonna have some public, we got, at the entrance, we wanna dress our signs up, coming into that and make it look attractive. We've got some trees planted, we've got some gating going on all the way down the front entrance, across the front on the Highway 52. So I wanna keep my trees under 40 foot. I don't wanna obstruct anybody's view from the hills up above. So we'll have some nice trees, but they're gonna be, there'll be some fruit trees and stuff just to get bushy. If you actually take Google Maps and turn that and sit on Highway 52, you can barely see the top of this metal building that's back there now, that's down below the stock dam. So if you put one of these residents in front of it and block another 20 foot of view, you won't even, to the back there, you won't see any of that. The only people that are gonna look over the site, right now, there's a few lots to the left that are unsold. There's 4 neighbors in there now. One's got a window view of it. There's a lot of lots to be sold looking over it.
You mean above?
Above, yep. Mr. Knodel and Greg, neither one are gonna be here. I talked to them both. I'm sorry. It was one's out of town and one was so busy he didn't know which way he was turning, so they was gonna come as, for the project, so they have no disagreement, and they got the most invested looking over top of it, I think. And I had the operative, regulation, including camper's proof of insurance, that I think in the rules and regulations, we've addressed all the questions that was asked last time we was here. We put an age on it. We did put an age at 46 or at 45 because 46 is the most popular second home buyer there is. We looked at 55, we done all the studies. So I'm trying to keep 21-year-olds out, but I want to still sell the unit. So, I think at 45, you're adult and mature, and I did put a regulation on there. You can rent them out, because if I bought it and I went south for the summer, this is my process of thinking. If I went south and I lost my wife or somebody and I got a camper back here, I want to rent it out. So minimum lease rent is 6 months. So you got to have that option. I can relatives, first name relatives, are going to be able to come and utilize the site for 2 weeks with our notice.
Are you going to rent it to 18-year-olds, or are you going to?
No,
45?
no.
You're going to rent it to somebody else that's 45?
Yes, it's right in the rules. It's right in the rules that they have to be approved. Yep. They have to be 45 years old.
You'll just barely slide in there.
That's right.
How about, you said 2 cars, how about like ATVs?
1 car and ATV. You got a 20 or 24 foot spot, so whatever you park on there, what don't belong there goes up in the storage shed.
No lawns
No, we're gonna take care of the lawns. You got 4,000 square foot per unit, right at 39 to 4,000, the way I figured it out. So there's quite a bit of lawn space. We're gonna take care of all the lawns, so that's taken care of. They're entitled to, take care of their mowing edge, and that's why I put a mowing edge around at 3 foot. They landscape it, they gotta put a mowing edge, keep it clean, and our mowers can go up against that and get something accomplished.
All your utilities are buried?
All utilities are buried.
Mr. Albert, the surface for the streets and parking paths.
We talked asphalt, but I really want to go concrete. I really want them concrete, but to start out with, we're going to go asphalt.
So you have no pets?
No pets. And that's probably going to hurt me some, but I don't want dogs and yapping and dog kennels, and there's going to be a lot of people that have a personal pet. I have a personal pet myself. We had the conversation. There's one rides with me every day, so I can't even be on the site with a pet. But I thought it was in best interest of everybody there.
How do you get around the Fair Housing Act? With the age? Did the lawyer tell you how you do that? I'm just asking.
No, you put it in writing, I guess.
I just wanted to,
No, there's a lot of communities at 55.
we would have to be careful with that there's
Right.
a protected class.
It's been through our my attorney, and there wasn't nothing.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah, no, there wasn't nothing negative come out of
It
it.
enforces the requirement of the Housing for Older Persons Act.
It's what?
It says it enforces the requirements of the Housing for Older Persons Act
There's
of
probably.
1995.
Oh, there you go. They don't-
I think you'll have more problems with no pets than with 45.
I think so too. I think so too.
But you're okay, pets are not a protected class, luckily.
Right.
Luckily yet. Someday they'll probably will be.
And I'm sure there might be an exception. If I get a somebody from the Army that, You're correct. I mean, that's something that everybody's, but I don't want it to be a situation where, you know, I don't feel good, I want a dog. You know, and that's happening a lot lately, so, I mean, we're just putting it at no pets.
So, this is a very thorough, rules and regulations.
So I want you to see up front, he showed a couple of these on the screen. This is also for the audience, but this is what's being shown here. This is an example of what we call the park model, not the best. Maybe take that, you can kind of see the landscaping out in front. In colors, but this is important for us. We want to see the landscaping, we want to see how that is. We expect that to be followed.
You got another one, don't you?
And then I have, the board has this up front, so this shows what's going on. This is again, oh, it's upside down.
Upside
Better
down.
fix that.
There you go.
And the reason with that being on there is why we have such a large line is we want our own storage capacity. We don't want to be a hindrance to anybody else. There's plenty of water supply there, but we went up to a 6-inch pipe. We're gonna have that in multiple places there, and it actually takes 6,500 gallons to fill that capacity right now at this point. So if we need to put a pressure tank on it, we will, but we're not gonna hindrance anybody else in that situation.
There's the water plan, and then here's the septic, or here's the,
That's BY Electric drew that
That's
up,
the
what their
electric?
plan is.
so, you know, looking at that a little closer, you can see where the boxes are, what the plan is. Obviously, he's got it over there for the other side too. And then, the next one, again, is in the packet of the commission here, so sharing it. This is the septic plan. And this would be the sewer plan septic, and as he said, how many units to a tank? 4. So we got 4 units to a tank, that's very typical in the campground. And again, this will be approved by DNR. And so far, we're on the same page.
Drain fields are right on, connected to the tanks.
Pardon?
Are the drain fields connected to the tanks and?
When you release, you got 10 foot of pipe and then you got your drain field.
Yeah.
We got 100 foot. And that, we just regulated, pardon?
That's for 4.
Correct. We regulated that at 100 foot, so we kept them consistent, and that way the state's gonna come in and say, you need 150 foot, we'll put 150 in.
And then, as we keep
Now,
talking,
are you
this,
required to, you go in and pump them out once a year? For solids?
We'll put whatever regulations he has on it.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've had my own, you know, I do it because I don't want a problem over Christmas.
Right, exactly.
this is the entrance, there it is, it exists today. Right now, it's just going out into a cow pasture, but that will be the, you know, and we don't allow, the state doesn't allow new entrances off of Highway 52, so this is it. And then the other one's over here in the section line, but that's not part of this, as you can see by this, by the plan we approved earlier, that will not be, they are separate entities. And so, so there's your entrance, and that's how the entrance will be, and that he was doing up here when he showed you that gated entrance. And that would be this way, and that's where that will be. So that gated entrance would be down there by the highway, and this is the way it would look, and then they go in.
For the purposes of showing the units behind it, we're gonna have it a lot taller than that. I'd like to have it at 10 to 12 foot.
The what?
The entrance. I'd like to have that at 10 to 12 foot so I can get some shrubbery and still get the sign in there, but just to show the units back behind it, we kept it lower on the drawing a little bit.
You're showing the gate for the entrance, is that gonna be
That's gated, that's electric gated.
electric gate?
Yep. And I've thought thoroughly on that, on snow and how it works in operation, so those will all be worked
But you
out.
don't intend this to be a year-round residence?
It is gonna be, we're gonna be open year-round, but I am not, it's a vacation home. It's not intended for somebody to come and buy a unit and live there year-round. No, it is not
But
for that.
Could
But
they?
they can,
They can, they can,
and you'll maintain the roads and
Yep.
plows, yeah.
yep, that's all in our covenants.
One other thing too, when we do this, and I want this in the findings too, but I'll make sure that we're all on the same page. This is the, let me go back up the top then, must be somewhere in there. Okay, this is the preliminary plat, that were the drainage plan, but it's also the preliminary plat. These lots, lot 16 and lot 17, will continue to be owned by the operator. So in the findings, the operator, if it's Oliver today, whoever it is in the future, has the responsibility of meeting the zoning requirements as we're laying out in the findings that we expect. The people that buy those lots are leasing that lot space. They do not own that property. The responsibility for living up to the zoning ordinance is the individual that owns that property.
Right.
Is that clear? So I don't have to go meet 62 people to make them live by the zoning ordinance. It's who owns that property, and it will always be a single owner or a corporation.
And that's addressed in our rules also.
You understand that?
No.
We're not selling pieces of property to these people. They're
Right,
leasing it.
right.
And so all zoning requirements will be back to the ownership of the property, not the people that buy and put the units on.
So, Mr. Oliver, you own that whole area?
Correct, well,
Okay, but we're only doing 16 and 17.
Those are.
So you gotta remember,
That encompasses all.
and it will always stay under his property. Remember, lot 7, 8, these over here will
Is the
get
whole
sold
thing
to the
16?
people.
This is
This is gonna
17.
stay
That's the
under one
Lakeside
ownership.
Commercial District.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
That will stay under one ownership.
this whole
so that's in
square
the
is
finding.
16, this whole square is 17, okay. All right.
and we did that for the ease of phase 1, phase 2. Just to keep it,
So we need to do, if we're gonna do this, we have to do the preliminary plat on this subdivision, right? We have to do a preliminary plat on the subdivision like we did on the other ones.
Yes. Just the findings in there, all of them down, basically it's saying that ownership is who's responsible for living up
Yes.
to those rules that were just, may approve, and anything, any zoning requirements that we apply in this conditional use permit.
Okay, so this, we've already platted it, so that's done.
No.
So the first thing we're gonna cover is the conditional use, then the plan.
We approved the preliminary layout, so we could get the other one to count on.
Yes. So I'm asking, do we need to approve this?
These will not be subdivided. Lot 16 and lot 17 will not be subdivided.
Right, they're one single entity.
Yep,
So do we need to approve the subdivision application?
we did that
We
earlier.
did that
We
already.
did that.
Mr. Oliver, thank you.
thank you,
Much better presentation.
thank you very much.
Is there anyone from the audience who would like to speak opposed to this project? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this project? Yes, sir, come forward, state your name, address, and proximity to the project.
Thank you. My name is Doug Walsh. I live in Yankton, 1107 East 19th. And I would just like to comment on Kurt. He's a person of character, integrity. He's lived out by the lake area, and he's had a successful business, construction business, for over 40 years. And knowing him, I know he wouldn't even proceed with a project like this if he didn't think it would enhance the community in the surrounding area. And I just feel strongly that, you know, this will be an area where in the future people will be talking about in a positive manner, both the neighbors and the Yankton community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person coming up, let's speak if you're a proponent.
We're opposed.
Okay, I already called for opposed, but we'll go back to opposed. Anyone else who's in favor of this project? Okay, no one else in favor, so we'll go, if you're opposed, if you want to come forward, state your name and address and proximity to the project. So there's 2 people right now opposed, so 3 people, okay, 4, 5, 4, sold. Normally, when we've done other things, when there's more than one person, so there would be 30 minutes. So 30 minutes divided by 4 would be about 7 minutes a person. So 7.5 minutes a person, so we'll go from there.
I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. You know, the one thing that struck me from hearing the conversation.
Who are you?
Sorry, Nick Mosier. I live at 1302 Maple Street, but I represent Mr. DeYager. One thing that struck me from hearing the first meeting that there was a couple of weeks ago and getting some of the feedback is that, you know, there was some concern that this group almost has to move this thing forward. I heard things about keeping consistency and some of that stuff. But if you look at Article 18, you know, what your authority is, I think you have more than enough authority to require that, you know, these things meet, you know, whether it's ingress and egress. I think there is some concern, and maybe this is a small deal, but is that just going to be a 90-degree angle turn in there? I mean, that's a pretty busy highway that comes through there. I don't know if that's going to slow down traffic and, you know, general compatibility with adjacent properties and other property in the district that will not adversely affect the public interest. And that's right there in section 1805. So I just want to introduce that to let this group know that you have broad authority to say what goes and what doesn't go here. But I think the biggest issue as it relates to the conditional use permit is that this isn't a campground. I mean, when you look at your Article 11, your own policy, for a lakeside commercial district, there's only certain projects or genres of project that you can even grant a conditional use permit to. Now, one of those genres is a campground. So what's a campground? Well, you all have already defined what a campground is in your section 15, in your Article 11, section I'll find it here, just give me a second. So you've defined what a campground is. Any premises where two or more camping units, okay, so what's a camping unit? You define that as well. It's any vehicle, tent, trailer, or portable shelter used for camping purposes. If you go back to the map of what the structures look like, you know, they're nice. I'm not saying that there's something physically wrong with them. I'm just saying it's not a camper. I think the proponents would say this isn't a campground. I mean, if they really had to take an honest look at it, I know that's what we're calling it because that's the only thing that you can call it to give you guys the authority to pass this through. You know,
So you think that campers would look nicer than this?
it's not my place to say what would look nicer or what wouldn't, but you guys are not allowed to just give a conditional use permit to anything that you want. You very clearly lay out what you're allowed to give a conditional use permit for. Amusement parks, campgrounds, daycare centers, garages, hotels, kennels, motels. So my point is, it might be that a campground or a camper would look nicer. That's not for me to say. What I'm saying is this is not a campground. And I don't think anybody just from their lay understanding of what a campground is would say this is a campground. Based on your own definition, 2 or more camping units are placed for camping purposes or any premises used or set apart for supplying to the public camping space. I mean, it's just camping purposes is a part of the definition. The state of South Dakota isn't even requiring a campground permit because it's not a campground. You don't have covenants and year-long leases and people purchasing a $70 or $80 or $90,000 unit in a campground.
What would you call this more accurately then, if you don't define it as a campground?
Single-family dwelling?
Yeah, residential?
And I think that gets us to the point, right? We're in lakeside commercial, and you can't do a residential development as a conditional use in a lakeside commercial.
You can have a bar there if you want.
Sure, but a bar's not a residential development. It's a commercial property. I mean, you have sewage, and you have electrical, and you have all of that going to 70 units. You have an 8-acre plot there that's going to have 70 units, and each one of those units is going to have 2 vehicles. That's 8.7 units per acre with 16 vehicles. I agree that you could have a bar there. I just don't think you can have a community where people are purchasing $70,000 to $90,000 pieces of property and signing year-long deals and signing covenants and things like that. I just don't think it fits. There might be uses that I don't like as much as this that actually do fit, but I didn't write the rules. And I think you have to, as a baseline, it has to fit into what is acceptable as a conditional use. And this just doesn't fit. And you can call it a campground all you want, but it's not a campground.
So I think in our conditional use, we can allow hotels or whatever and that. And then I guess I have to use some of my own living experiences when you look at like terms of leasing. So when I went to Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico and all that last year, I was in like someplace 70, 80 days. So like typically a campground is 15 days or 20 days or something like that, right? So I don't know if a campground defines how long somebody leases that out, right?
Well, there are year-long leases on campground, on
Yes.
camping spots just right out there by the lake now.
Yes.
Right, but not each one of those units doesn't require its own sewage going to the individual unit. I mean, there's complications.
Yeah, they
They are.
No, they share them, Nick.
They share them, but I mean, the point
Just
is,
like this one, I mean,
Just like this.
they have dump stations and they dump into it and it goes into a tank. I mean,
Wouldn't you agree this is more residential friendly than a campground?
it could be, but I don't think it fits into what you're allowed to do. This is a lakeside commercial
lakeside
development.
commercial, and if you look at the conditional uses that are allowed in lakeside commercial, a campground is. But,
Right,
I
and
mean,
this is even nicer than a campground, basically,
this
is
is-
what we're all
I
saying.
think we're arguing about semantics here.
Well, I mean, you can call it semantics, but you set the definitions for what's allowed in there, and I think you're bound to follow those definitions. And I think if someone wanted to challenge this, I think they would have a pretty good challenge that this just isn't a campground. And I think there's good reasons why you might let something like a gas station or a hotel or a bar go in, as opposed to something where you have 70 different owners having pretty valuable pieces of property.
Okay, because keeping in with the time, we're at 7.5 minutes, so if you want to wrap it.
Yep, and I think there's other people who want to present as well.
Okay, so now we have 3 more opponents. If you come up, your name, address, and proximity to the project.
My name is Chris Dickus. I live on Dewdrop Inn Lane. I think in respect to the last time we met and talked, I guess we would just ask the builder owners to adhere to strict covenants and ordinances that would keep the area nice and respectful of the neighbors.
He wrote those, he's got covenants now in place.
I know, but people don't always follow those, and we just want to have accountability for that, and making sure people are, not tearing up the place, and that's, I think, the major concern.
I
So
appreciate what you're saying there, Mr. Dickus. I've lived in many places with covenants and the homeowners association rules, and these are some of the strictest that I've ever seen. But I agree with you, if they're not enforced, they're not even worth the paper they're written on. But I do believe that what we've heard and seen from Mr. Oliver, that he is a man of his word.
Covenants can be enforced by courts.
That's a civil action, not plan commission action, but
Okay, well, I mean, just, that's what I'm here to talk about, and
Thank you.
if you want to read what his thing is, I'll let you have my copy.
think I got one in the mail, I just don't have it with me.
Okay, if you want to look at it, it's here. So then we should have two more people.
Good evening, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to visit with you. My name's Gary Kleinsmith at 108 Okie Dokie Lane, which is about a block and a half away from the project. I agree with you. Last time when we visited, we asked for some standards, and we've got some very high standards. The question is, what happens when the profitability of the project isn't there? Do we lessen our standards? You know, we've got stringencies. You got to be 46 years old. You got to be married. You go to bed at 11 o'clock. You wake up at 6:30. You know, and you drive in and back out. You know, things like that. Are they going to be enforced? If they're not going to be enforced, then this is just a piece of paper. And I was thinking, you know, if I was going to have somebody describe heaven, I would get the same guy that wrote this, because he pretty well described heaven. Everything is perfect. And we know that doesn't happen. You can't drive your motorcycle around, but you can drive it from your facility out, but you can't drive through the complex. Now tell me, who's going to enforce that? And then with the townhouses, you're putting in a gated community on Welcome. Why wouldn't you drive down to Dewdrop and drive in at that level? Because that doesn't have a gate on it. Are we going to have a gate down there?
I would like to put one in for everybody. If the
Are we going to be restricted to 2 vehicles too? I mean, where does this end? Where does it start?
But see, his covenants would affect the property was there.
Yeah, but you're incorporating our property in this covenant.
No.
Well, yes,
This is welcome.
that's right, and that's going to have a gate on it, right?
No, this is.
Hey, right there.
I don't know about welcome.
I would
I'm
like
not
to,
talking
if
about-
everybody on the housing association agrees with that. That's up to your standards there.
What's going to restrict people from using that drive to get to the other one?
They can't come,
You can't.
this is
There's
gated.
gate on it.
No, that's gated. I'm talking about the townhouses.
They can't get there from, well,
That gate on the townhouses has to be approved by your association, if there is one.
That'll be the gate.
That gate's gotta be by your.
So
housing
Welcome Drive
association.
is not going to be gated?
If you approve it.
but his people can't get to there.
I can't do that without your.
What about the people that are going to be in the townhouses?
That's their.
What restrictions, what covenant regulates them people?
They're going by yours, your homeowners association of the development that you're living in.
So the west side of the of Welcome will influence the east side of Welcome?
The west side runs by your rules.
And you guys are on the east side?
Correct, we run by your rules on that side, that is incorporated in. I gotta run by those regulations on those lots. That's incorporated.
We need to bring it back to the,
That's zoned residential, and this is lakeside commercial. It's-
Well, it's all one project, though.
No,
No.
the townhouses were done
Townhouses are separate,
a month ago.
and they're part of that subdivision that you're in. This other thing that we're talking about on the right, the other 2 lots, that's a whole separate entrance, whole
Lakeside
separate,
commercial.
separate project.
Nobody could even get
That's
to
under
this
lakeside
property from
commercial, it's
Welcome
not
Drive.
under your
That's
zone.
right, Kurt? There's
No,
way to
everybody
get
gets to,
on Welcome
everybody
Drive.
gets to all of our property from Welcome Drive.
Welcome Drive goes to 10 lots.
Yeah, there's no way to get to any of these tiny houses.
Oh, to the townhouses, no.
No, to these little
The
houses.
other houses that they were just
They
showing on
cannot
the
Yep,
get
screen,
understand.
those are on that separate access right in the center,
Off Highway
off of the highway.
Yep.
Not through Welcome Drive.
Understand, okay.
Traffic won't be-
Okay, so we don't have nothing to say about the traffic that's in our area.
You do have traffic, you have something to say about the traffic in your area, and you can take that guardhouse that's there, put a gate on that end, put a gate on your other end, way up on the west of there, the 2 accesses.
Yeah.
And you can have it so you and the people that live there have access to that.
Okay, and that includes the townhouses.
That would include townhouses because they're under your covenants and restrictions.
Okay, well, we've got not much for covenant and restrictions.
They're on file.
Okay, so tell me how we're going to enforce this covenant.
So covenants have to be enforced through civil action. It's not like a county plan commission or something. So someone would have to bring civil lawsuit against whoever the owner of, right now it'd be Mr. Oliver of lot 16 and 17. And then the townhouses, if I remember, they were separately sold. Correct. So they were like a regular house. Each one of them is like a regular multifamily house.
Okay. Okay, well, that's sums up kind of, I'm just concerned about the integrity of the deal. And I think all of our homeowners are concerned about that too. And like our lawyer pointed out, you know, you're putting a lot of traffic in a very small area. And you've got rules and restrictions that are really high pie, expecting a lot from people and expecting, you know, I was under the understanding that they were going to cost a lot more than $90,000, but that's.
I think that's for the mini houses.
Yeah, minis, that's not the.
Okay.
Townhouses are more.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's all that I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Great considerations. And I think there's one more.
Keith Yeager, 117 Okie Dokie Lane. As far as Gary was talking, I think on the 28th, we'll have to discuss that as far as those 10 multi-homes to use our welcome drive. We're the ones, that's our access, so maybe we'll have to make work of that at that time for traffic and everything at that meeting, because you'll be discussing the 10 multiple family units on that area. Now we're working with the ones at the bottom. Okay, at the last meeting, I said I was totally against the tiny houses, modulars on campgrounds east of Welcome Drive. This was voted down by the board, the owners. Thank you for that. For now, it's back up again. We, the owners, are concerned about the health, safety, and welfare. Also, at the last meeting, Mr. Oliver showed you a diagram of 38 units on 8 acres. Now we got 70 units on 8 acres. As you see in that one diagram, it's like, this is like a cluster trailer park, the way I look at it, you know? And there was pictures of the modulars, the Proctor, 438 square feet, sleep 6, one bath. The Books, 536 square feet, sleep 6, 1 bedroom. The Dowie, 538 square feet, sleep 6, 1 bath. So in other words, you are talking less than 540 square feet on a slab of cement. You know, 38, or you got 70 units in different directions on 8 acres. Remember, we are proud owners. We paid $100,000 for a lot or more, and then put this cluster of modular homes in our neighborhood. We have a covenants to abide by, and it's sad that Mr. Oliver doesn't follow this. He doesn't follow our covenants. Has his covenants been documented with the Register of Deeds? Is that covenants been documented? Has it been documented? See, it needs to be sealed and documented. It's got to be recorded, right?
No, he has to ask you guys. You shouldn't talk to them. You should talk to the commission.
Okay, sorry.
Please.
Okay. That's what okay. And any questions? You have any questions?
So you realize that these block 16 and 17, that's commercial. It's listed
Right.
commercial.
Right.
So it's not the R2 or R1 residential, such as your home or those
Right.
townhouses. So one way or the other, there's something commercial going to go in there.
Yes. Why not storage buildings? Storage units. I mean, it's right across from the marina. It's less traffic,
And and that's more enhancing to the property value of your, $500,000 house and have a storage unit?
Lakeside commercial, there could be a lot of things go into that are pretty not so
Yeah, I know, they're saying this is about the best options you've had in a long time. Well, to me, it's just like you put 70 of these in a cluster, sure, the gate looks nice and everything like that, and he's abiding by the rules, but that's my theory. I mean, when we were the second ones up on that hill, you know, and we took pride in it. You had the trees, and you're talking $100,000 lots. Well, that's a big investment just to sit your building on it, and then you pour a lot of money into the structure, and then all of a sudden we see modulars going down at the bottom. You know, just, I don't know. To me, it kind of hurts that way. I look at it, so.
You know, I can't remember what the description of those townhouses were, but they're going to, I guess, sort of block your view of whatever's behind them, because the townhouses look to be very nice and, you know,
But the same,
suitable for your neighborhood.
yes, but the suitable, you know, see, just like when we have our covenants and it's enforced, I mean, the best you can do is put one dwelling on an acre. Well, the twin homes have an acre, you know, for each acre. So where those 10 multiple dwellings are on that could be discussed in the December 28 building in that meeting, but it's sitting on 3 acres. By right, if it was according to our covenants, it wouldn't be allowed, because you could have a single dwelling or a multiple on each one, so the total would be 6 units in that, according to our covenants. See, he wouldn't be able to get by with, according to our covenants, to build like those 10 multiple. That's not in our covenants.
Well, one thing too, though, with covenants, it's usually defined by this subdivision or whatever. And for instance, like Marina Del Rey, we've had that in the last couple months. And there was an incident where like there was 12 houses, they were exactly the same words, but this one applied to these 12 houses and this one applied to these like 15 houses. So the neighbors here approved a guy, it was approved by the people in the covenants, they could have X building. But the people over here said, but he can't have that building because our covenants are the same. Well, when you get into covenants, they're attached to the specific lots. So I'm not sure where you're out there on Welcome Drive, if there's like the middle of Welcome Drive, it defines like your house, and then to the right on the Welcome Drive is a separate entity. I'm not sure about that. But one thing I think is important, Mr. Oliver being here, is the input from people is kind of like a, you know, self-policing, right? That he understands what you guys are looking at. And I think when I look at what he's written, I think it has potential if communication lines between existing people and the developers stay open. I think it could be a very beneficial thing to benefit you guys as homeowners. So I appreciate that you came to speak your concerns.
Because just to the east of Welcome Drive, there is Lot 1, Lot 2, Lot 3, a Block 3 in the beginning. See, there was 3 separate lots there.
Right.
Okay? Well, now you're going to put 10 multiple.
Those are done.
That's,
Yeah, I know, but that's just what I said. It started, in our covenants, that wouldn't have happened. I mean, by right, but the covenants does not extend to that, see?
Don't say that, otherwise they wouldn't, you could stop.
Our covenants show that you had to have single-family dwellings and a twin home at the most on an acre.
But those lots weren't sold.
Huh? Right, those lots were not sold. But in the covenant, we're sitting on an acre, roughly around an acre, 8.08, somewhere in there. But that's the extent of it. You can't, the rules show that the twin homes was the most you could put on an acre. Well, you got 3 acres to work with there, but it passed last time, but that's what I was just, okay?
Thank you for your consideration and
Okay.
time. So that was all the people that were listed as opponents and proponents. We'll bring it back to the Planning Commission for discussion and/or motion.
Well, as I said, I think these very thorough rules.
That's, I think it's important to understand the difference between rules and regulations and covenants. Covenants go with the land, the rules and regulations, these people are not gonna own the land, so you have to have a good set of rules and regulations. And, I believe these go above and beyond what I would ever expect.
Yeah, the discussion of campground
Yeah.
came up. And as I recall, a month ago when we talked about this project, we specifically said, this is not a campground. This is what I think I remember. It's a park
models.
model.
But I mean,
And now we're saying it has to be a campground to fit our ordinances.
no, the park model is what the units are called.
Right, but
But we didn't, it was always called.
Okay, so what was brought up was definitions. What's a campground, what's a camper? And it does do these fit the camper? And are we trying to just find a home this project is? When you take a look, and Mr. Moser was correct in which he talked about the campgrounds and talked about campers. A camping unit, any tent, any vehicle, tent, trailer, or portable shelter used for camping purposes. A campground, any premises where 2 or more camping units are parked in place for camping purposes, or any premises used or set apart for supplying the public camping space for 2 or more camping units for camping purposes, including, this is interesting, so including any buildings, structures, vehicles, or enclosures, uses or intended for use, intended wholly or in part for the accommodation of transient campers. Okay, so that's what that says for definition. What do we say in Lakeside Commercial? We say campground. Conditional use, campground. Now, if we go into this point of view and we look and we go into saying what is the campground, and we went back and did the definition a minute ago, does that fit it exactly? No, it doesn't. The Planning Commission does have the ability, and so does the Board of Adjustment. It's called Section 1109. Every one of our sections have a 109, whether it's whatever it might be. They all have this 09 in there. So there's a 509, there's a 609. This is called 1109. It's called Classification of Unlisted Uses. In order to ensure that the zoning ordinance will permit all similar uses in each district, the Board of Adjustment, upon its own initiative or upon written application, shall determine whether a use not specifically listed as a permitted accessory or conditional use in a district shall be deemed a permitted accessory.
Okay, so you're talking about just the building on the east end?
This one here and this one here, the future 50 by 75 also. This one here was approved last week. But this right here, and I called it for constructing the park model units, but it's all got a use. This here was to store the toys for these people here that's got in the townhouses. This here is to build build the units. We can build them during the winter. We have them all in the structure and all our messes put away rather than having all this material down here scattered out over, down on the site building. So once we get done building those units there, then we can also take them and store stuff in there that's from the campground, which we do not allow to store boats, park on the road, etc. So this unit over here was designed to, the back half is going to be for the park manager, and the front half is going to be for meetings. If you want a birthday party or something, you need extended family, or you got a community room. Correct. So that's what that's going to be for. It's going to be gated at this scenario right here. The only people that will be coming through here, they're stopped from here. This will be me or, staff will be accessing through this. So the traffic down Welcome Way, we talked about that with the townhouses being right here. There's traffic for another 40 acres up here yet. If this gets developed up here, all that's got to come down through this area right here. So there's going to be houses here, there's houses up here on the high hill, there's houses up here on the high hill, but it's kind of a unique situation right here because this row of trees here and the row of trees and coming around is all a berm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, There's a berm behind those buildings.
So the height of this roof right here is lower than what that berm is.
Does the berm extend to the 150?
It goes all the way to this side right here. Now, we put a drainage ditch out here, probably about 45, 50 foot, and there's a berm brought down this whole side. It's not as high as this back one. The back one's to hold the water back. This one's high here too, because this was cut down, you know, this is probably, well, this is as high as the berm at the back of the dam right here. So this would be sitting down in a hole. So actually, when you do foundations for this, when you build this building, it'll have to be concrete here and here, because it'll go up against the bank.
Two sides.
It'll be cut in the bank. Same way with this. This one's designed to cut in the bank and be concrete halfway up, you know, like 4 foot up and then 10 foot of steel. So then these trees here would be planted all the way around just for a buffer. So you got the garbage here that's got plants or built in. You got these trees for a buffer coming around. You got a fenced in community with this storage for here. So as far as access to this right here, it's only from the park.
Bob's building sits further back to the north, right?
This is the existing building right here. That's the building right there that I own right now.
And that's on your
Yeah. Show them on the plan.
Yeah, and the reason we're doing 150 by 75, that butts it over to this berm, you know, rather than keeping it back here and have 20 foot of water coming down in there, we can put it to the berm and get rid of the water. Same way with over here. So the water coming off the dam, we've designed that too. We've got, you know, this is pretty high and it comes down. We had to have our setbacks for the building there off our lot line. So we've actually taken a 20 foot or 20 inch culvert and already buried it to go down here to the drainage ditch. So this is buried underneath. There's a water inlet here. This water sheds this way and it sheds this way from behind the dam there. So it ain't all getting, half of the roof goes to the back of the building down to this inlet and then out to our drainage. Front half front half of these buildings, all the drainage, it's quite a hard surface, but it's all sloping this way and sloping this way right into our drainage ditch down here that goes out to Highway 52.
Mr. Law, could I ask you a question?
Yes.
Are these buildings going to obstruct any of the properties that are?
No, it'll be fine, because the dam is about as high as top of the building.
Thank you.
It won't be a problem.
How tall the sidewalls?
14 foot.
On a 4 foot curve?
No, 14 foot total. So whatever they deem necessary to do that concrete back there, it'll be less than
The
steel.
front side will have 14 foot in.
Great.
Can you give me a time frame? I don't want, okay, we need to get some kind of a pattern here. Are we gonna be building these structures for 3 years, 10 years, 20 years?
I got a 5-year plan on the park.
Okay.
And the townhomes, what we're gonna do, we'd like to construct this first. This is gonna come into play, probably the last unit. This will come into play next. We have 2 townhouses that we're gonna start right away. And we got 3 tiny homes that we're gonna start and display on the front.
Okay.
So as soon as one sells, we're gonna build 2. One sells, we're gonna build 2. So it's as the market allows, you know, I don't wanna get myself in a situation where the economy goes to heck and everybody just tightens up for a month or 2. You know, I don't wanna have 10 of them sitting out there and we gotta have a fire sale, so.
But I can also, you said 5-year plan.
Yes.
That becomes your.
Pardon?
storage. After 5 years, or we get done building the park model?
Yes, this becomes completely storage. Yep, that'll be just for this unit only. It's no outside storage, no outside traffic.
So the existing building will be storage also?
Yep, because we're gonna have a need for it. We got 72 boats or, you know, winter storage for that, or jet skis, or a golf cart, or, you know, we've allowed it for everybody.
You understand what I mean by outside, meaning, no, it's just the tenants.
Yes, it's just the people who.
Yeah, it's not a public storage space. It is strictly for ourselves. It's our own use.
Question, you said the first 2 that you're gonna build are tiny homes?
No, townhomes, sorry. First 2 townhomes right here,
Okay.
townhouses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And then you'll start with the smaller homes up front on the other side.
Yes, we're gonna actually, if I get everybody's blessing, we're gonna build 3 of them homes this winter. We've got engineered design and everything ready to go. So I'd like to build 3 of them and have them ready to display come April. So April, we gotta start doing our groundwork and we gotta put our roads in, and that's where phase 1 will come in. Phase 1 will come in, we'll do all the roads. You know, we'll get that out of the way, get the water lines in, get our sewers in, you know, for per pod. So once we get eight sewers in there, we'll go to the next pod, and we'll go to the next pod and just build our way out of it. So we have construction access from the outside for that, so we ain't using the main gate there.
Could actually, those 2 or 3 will be done for the download.
Correct. Yeah, I can't get footings in anymore this year. We didn't cover nothing, we got tremendous amount of dirt work to do there, so. So we actually have a driveway right here. So, once we construct this right here, this is phase 1 of this project. So we'll build these units and start around the corner here. And then we can access this with construction equipment, come back so we don't interfere with this.
So you build them top townhomes first, and then you place the tiny homes down in this corner?
Yeah, I want to display them on the road. And that's where we said somebody might not want to buy a unit because it's gonna be set here, but it's gonna sit till it's ready to sell. You know, I'm not gonna start in here and go sell this unit over here, you know, this guy wants to build, or this guy wants to build up here. That's what our BY Electric, big conversation we had. They said, well, we're gonna start in here and we're gonna work this way because this can't sell that unit and this one and just have a
Well, that's what I was wondering about the.
menagerie, you know. So we're just gonna start right here, build our way up, and we'll come back here and build our way up. You know, these are gonna be the most desirable lots on the outside. You got the most privacy there, but they're just gonna have to wait. So, and like they said, there's only 2 parking spots for them. They got a 4-wheeler, they got a side-by-side, they got 1 car and that, but they leave for the weekend, you know, they didn't wanna have it sit outside, so they can take it up, put it away in the storage buildings that we have available up there. And if you look in there, they all have a storage permit, you know, to be allowed in a storage facility. So it ain't like they're gonna bring their buddy's boat and be, you know, shoving it up in there or whatever for the weekend. And that's our intent. I mean, that's, you know, we wanna enforce them rules every possible bit we can get. If we didn't have rules to bend, you guys wouldn't have a job.
This here is not a public access. This is for storage.
Right.
People are not coming up Welcome, driving through here and coming out the park. That's not how that's gonna be set up, right?
Great,
I've
correct.
heard this 10 times from you, so.
Yep.
People that live in this park, basically, this is their entrance, period. Not a basic, but just the way it is. This here is simply, they have to wait for him to go ahead and put stuff up in that storage. And I'm assuming we're probably gonna have somewhat security.
Oh, yeah, no, that's gonna be secured, and these units are gonna be policed. I mean, these units are gonna be self-policed quite a bit, because if this guy right here can't get to his unit because somebody's parked right here, he's gonna hear about it. And he'll hear about it quick. So, I mean, it's gonna police itself, I'm confident of that, you know, and we'll be there to back it up. You know, we got right in there a couple complaints and, you know, you're out, so. And I think people want rules, they like rules, you know, they know what to expect, they're coming into the situation to where, hey, this is what we gotta abide by, and if everybody's got a set of rules to go by, they're pretty accommodating, I think.
Any further questions for Mr. Oliver? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that speaks opposed to this variance on the size of the building? Is there anyone in the audience that speaks in favor of the size, the variance for the size of this building? So one of the things that, one of the things I want to bring out is that existing building was there for a long, long time. I don't know exactly when. So it was prior to zoning requirements where that building was built. So in effect, there's already a building outside of the structure size that are allowed in a residential unit area. So what we're kind of looking at in this variance is extending the size of the building that was already there, that was there prior to the zoning. And also, I think it's important that somewhere there's no black and white boundary between lakeside commercial, residential. There's gotta be some kind of transitionary point. And I think that, that's exactly where this is laid out.
How big is that existing building?
75 by 100, 150.
High?
14. 14 foot. Yeah, we're just matching it.
Are you gonna match the whole roof line?
Yep, I wanna match the roof
So
line.
it's gonna be one continuous building eventually?
Yep.
Okay.
Any further discussion on planning commission?
And Pat, what's the maximum size of the accessory building in that area?
1,200.
We're going to 11,000.
What was it, Pat?
1,200, 1,200. It's moderate density. With 12-foot sidewalls. So it's a huge variance in that context. It truly is. Do you have enough material here to make that happen? I think there's plenty of, we went down through the variance process, I believe that there's enough there to allow that. I would say that you have to put a sunset on that. That building does not continue to be a construction building. If it's 5 years, then he has to come in and we say we can do another couple of years if he needs to, but I want something in the findings in that time frame. He thought a 5-year plan, we can always extend or he can talk about that. But I don't want that to be a construction facility. That's not what that's meant to be. It's meant to be storage for that entity in that process. We also know, and we've been doing this, and we need to get in there and get the ordinance work done, but we know, and we've been listening to this for almost 16 months, the accessory structure situation is not working. The sizes that we have there, we're continually offering variances, and we need to change the ordinance ASAP.
But that doesn't make any difference today because we're dealing with what we have today.
Yep. So, in the variance process, what reasonings and would you use against that would be, did you get any input? And does the circumstance allow you to offer a variance on such a structure? The strict application of the ordinance would produce an undue hardship. Such hardship is not generally shared by other properties in the same zoning district or the same vicinity. The authorization of the variance would not be a substantial detriment to the adjacent property, or the character of the district would not change by the grant of the variance. The granting of the variance shall be on demonstrable and exceptional hardships that distinguish from variances for purposes of convenience, profits, and caprice. So, one of the things that gets brought up a lot to me is this a profit-generated variance? Are we doing this variance because it's purely profitable? But the whole entity is about that. I mean, it is a process, but there is a method to all of that process. The variance is to allow the storage for those campgrounds, which will get that storage off those campgrounds and put them in a proper place. That can be, in my opinion, can be better for the zoning district than if they don't have storage.
I think it's essential to have something like that, so you don't have everything sitting around.
But the question is, how, less than 1 mile away, we turned down a request for a building box or smaller than that. Less than 1 mile.
But it was right in a residential area. I mean, it was right in someone's backyard. It blocked someone's view.
No, it wasn't. No, it didn't.
It blocked
No, it
someone.
didn't. No. It did not.
You're not talking about the one up on top of the hill?
No, that doesn't block anybody's view.
Yeah, but there was a.
Oh, I know, up there in Marina Del Rey, that's what
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm talking the one about that's,
B&B?
the B&B, Connivance. That's less than 1 mile.
So were the storage units that we approved down on Deerfield Boulevard.
That's a different category, I think.
I make a motion, we approve the variance of maximum building size requirement. Because of the proximity to the existing unit.
Let me add to that it doesn't, the property owner above it doesn't say that it's going to affect the view. It's gonna continue the roof line.
Gonna put plantings.
And it's very close to a commercial district too, right there. That was
also think it's important that really we're adding on an already existing structure that's outside of the variance factors that will.
So I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Denise, can we have roll call?
Yes. Dan Boothmiller.
Yes.
Deb.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Zane.
Yes.
Butch.
Yes.
Don.
No.
Mike.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, that brings us to the 7:40 agenda item, which is Cameron Colony. Cameron Colony applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to build, operate a Class F 2,800 head, 280 animal units, pork, swine under 55 pounds, nursery barn in the agriculture district, AG, in Yankton County. Said property is legally described as southwest 1/4, Section 1, Township 96 North, Range 55 West, hereinafter referred to as Mayfield Township, County of Yankton, State of South Dakota. 911 address is 44542 292nd Street, Irene, South Dakota. If one of the applicants or representative for Cameron Colony can come up and tell us name, address, and about your project. Take care.
Hello, I'm Ted Walder with Cameron Colony. Address is 28971 447 Avenue in Viborg, South Dakota. And I guess we already got an existing farrowing barn that's got 1,250 sows that we were selling breeder pigs out of. And we want to do a nursery for half of our pigs. And still half the other half sold as weeder pigs. So want to propose a 2,800 head nursery to get half of them done, finished, and it's being sold as feeder pigs.
And then on there, Ted, show them with that little pointer there where that is next to the shelter out there. I think you can see section 1. And there's your shelter.
Here?
Okay.
That's going to be sitting by right here.
And your farrowing barns are.
The farrowing barns are about a mile off. I don't think you're on the picture. I got a picture of them where it would be sitting there.
That would be on. Yeah. 290.
He gave me a big one to show Turner County too.
Oh, you did.
And the reason we're doing over a mile is for biosecurity. We're doing we're doing multiplication, breeding stock, so we need to have a high biosecure area.
Could you say that again, please? I'm sorry.
The reason we're going off a mile from our existing facility, we're very highly biosecure. We're doing breeding stock and multiplication, so we just need to keep it clean from our existing barn.
And any closer, they would have to combine the numbers and make it a bigger
True,
facility.
that's true, yes. Well, our main reason is biosecurity.
Okay. So these are, I forget what this type of ventilation is called, but it's,
It's gonna be the chimney, it's gonna vent out the
yeah,
top.
then up the top, exactly.
Just like the existing barn, and we got it right next to the road with the lead top, so it's gonna be.
Is this your existing mark? No.
No,
just a
that's not,
picture?
that's just a picture of identical,
Similar.
no, that's not our existing
Okay.
one. The existing one is the one right next to the Viber oil, so.
That's in Turner County? The other one's in Turner
The
County?
other one's in Turner County, right next to the county line, yeah.
Right next to the road.
Yep, right next to the road.
So that's a top there,
That's a top van,
is that 1,200 in?
1,250 sows.
How many 80 units a day?
Well, we load out about 1,400 every 2 weeks.
That's a top ventilated barn. If you drive by there very much, pay attention.
And it's been populated for over 3 years now.
How do your neighbors like that barn?
The neighbors said we didn't ever smell a thing. We got neighbors, we didn't have them, I had 2 neighbors. In fact, somebody built right after we built the barn, they built the house there. They said, we gotta admire you guys who don't smell a thing.
Okay, so I see you've got everything marked out with the mortality pad, the propane tanks, the feed bins. You've got a turnaround area. You've got a shelter belt there to the west. You got down-facing lights.
There's probably just gonna be one,
Yeah.
just the walk-in door, that's all the lighting we're gonna have.
Okay. And who's gonna be doing your construction?
Either Eden Co-op Lumber or WS Construction out of Sioux Falls, and we might be bidding another one out of Sioux Falls.
Will you have a fence around it?
Probably not.
It's all enclosed, right?
What's that?
There's no access.
There's no, you got a shower in, shower out, there's no way you can get in.
And you've, the land that you're gonna use the manure on, you've got that designated as well?
We have not yet, but we're gonna designate a field right next to it.
Okay. You've got adequate amount of property?
Yes, we actually got that under our existing general plan, but we're able to release that for that particular, we did talk to an engineer on that, so.
And this is a class F.
Yep.
On the nursery unit, how many acres does it take to clean your pits out?
I guess I'm not even 100% sure on that.
I think it's significantly less than a finishing unit. It's probably close to 40 acres as compared to 200 acres.
Yeah, I just talked to our engineer on that, and he said that you got more than enough of that land you around, you don't have to worry about it. So. And I guess the nursery is something new to us, so it's, as far as manure, I just took his word, he said you don't have to worry about it, it's more than you need, so.
I think the standard is about 40 acres.
And we own half the section there, so, in fact, I think even more, 3/4 of the section.
And you'll access this onto 292nd?
That is correct, yes. And there is an existing approach there. There used to be a farmyard there that we cleaned out, so we're just gonna access that again. There's an existing rural water there, there's existing power, so we're just gonna extend it in there again.
Sounds like you thought of everything.
Thank you.
No more questions?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll open this for public discussion. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this project? Name, address, proximity.
Louis Johnson, Baldwin, South Dakota. I've been up to their colony. I've been around their turkey barns. I didn't get close to their hog barn, their sow barn, outside to drive past it. They run a neat, tidy, clean operation. And they're already right next to the county line, and I see it as a great opportunity because Turner County is getting all their tax money. They're finally investing in Yankton County. Even though they've owned property in Yankton County, and like I said, they run a modern, clean operation. And I see nothing wrong with it. Basing it on our nursery, which is less than 200 feet from my house, and my wife still hasn't complained. So I'm thinking the smell's not that bad. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this project? Okay, we'll go to opponents. Anyone in the audience who would like to speak against this project? Yes, sir. Come forward, name, address, and where you're in the project.
My name is Steve Brockmiller. I live 29626 442nd Avenue. I actually own the farmland directly south of the property. I guess I'm not really saying I'm in opposition. I'm here to find what's going on. I got the letter. As I understand it now, they're using an existing building site. It was a building site, the buildings are gone, the road's there. One of my field access is directly across from that, so I hope that there's no disruption because of that. But, I know Yankton County's been through a lot of these things. Probably not Mayfield Township, I don't think so. What kind of input does the township board have in things like this? Do they get updated? Are they aware?
They get the invitations to come to every meeting, just like the rest of the public.
And that's true, that the township gets what they request, and it's been, so, that's where we're at with
I just kind of interested, what would be the access to and from the site?
So you're gonna come out on 292nd?
Because I know where the facility is at up on Ryder Road, or the east of Center, west of Center Point, but so from there.
Eddie, would you take the 445th, or would you go over to 446th? Well, it's gonna be, we're coming off of 292nd, we're coming off your place, and you're going back up to Turner County, are you gonna go 445th, or are we gonna go over to 446?
Go to 446.
Because it's hard town.
So would you leave your facility, you're gonna be more apt to go to the east?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive. There's no reason for us to go west.
Well, one of the things I was gonna bring up, as far as the township road goes, if you go to the west, you're familiar probably with that wetland, that low area there with the new culverts were put in, but they're more or less equalizers, they don't drain, so that road gets beat up pretty bad, so they're just, because it's always soft, it's never a good road bed to there, so.
Aren't they after 446, the new culverts? Aren't they west or east of 446?
Well, they're west of their proposed facility.
Okay, those are up here, okay.
446 is also a gravel road up there. North of 46 is all gravel. That they county never oils. It ends at Highway 46 to the county line. Probably 6 miles.
It's 2 miles.
No, all the way up to Turner. From 46.
Oh, 46 would be,
6 miles.
yeah,
6 miles.
5 or 6 miles.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I guess that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've opened for opponents and proponents and recognized all that is requested, so back to the planning commission for further discussion or a motion.
I move approval of the request for a conditional use permit.
I'll second it.
Zane. Roll call, Denise.
Don,
Yes.
Zane,
Yes.
Butch,
Yeah.
Deb,
Yep.
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, the 8 o'clock and 8:15 items on the agenda were the Coster application, and it was continued because they were not here. So that moves us to the 8:30.
I'm still here.
Okay.
Geez, you gotta do it again.
8 o'clock, Jeff Coster applicant is requesting a variance of minimum lot requirement on 3 lots. This addresses what we did on the plat consideration previously. On 3 lots from 2 acres to 0.87 acres, and a variance of minimum lot requirement on 3 lots from 2 acres to 0.51 acre in commercial district in Yankton County. Said property is legally described as Block 4, except blocks 31, 32, and 33, Sunrise Edition, Section 10, Township 93 North, Range 55 West, hereinafter referred as Mission Hill South Township, County, Yankton, State of South Dakota. 911 address to be announced, Post Street, Yankton, South Dakota.
Okay, so for the planning commission, just to give a brief overview before Jeff comes up, I did break this down so that, I know it got a little bit complicated when I did the Curtis Oliver one earlier, so I went ahead and made two different ones for this, two different motions. The first one that we're doing that I feel is important in order is, are we willing to do the lot requirements? And then after we do lot requirements, then we can take a look at yard requirements. So lots need to be created first, and then we take a look at what we're sticking in those lots. So your first one is, Mr. Welsh had mentioned, is minimum lot requirement. You're on, Jeff.
Good evening, again. I'm sorry, Pat, which one was starting? The lot requirement.
Let me kind of pull up a few things for you too.
Yeah,
So he's working through that. We've already kind of did the preliminary, so the other needs to base on that, but let me pull up, some stuff for Jeff. Okay, so for minimum lot requirement, the lot requirement in the commercial district is 2 acres. Okay? And we're requesting here of this size here and then this size up here, so it is listed out there as a .51, and then the few over here, 3 there, and then 3 at .87, and 1 at 8.6. This one is meeting the regulation size at the present time because it's 3.89. This shows you the drainage on those lots, so that was put together with that type of thing, but here's the lots as they sit. And then coming down, this gives you an idea of what those buildings will look like on that lot.
Condos.
So I'll leave it with that, so that now we can talk to you about the process.
So I believe the way it is written now, Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 2 acres.
Yep.
Per lot. But, in that general area up and down the highway, I don't believe that really holds true to any of the commercial properties that are up and down the highway. There's also our belief that the smaller lots, are easier to take care of, easier to maintain from the owner's point of view if we sell a building to somebody, or maintain them ourselves. The smaller lots, easier to mow, easier to landscape, less opportunity for somebody to not take care of their property. So that's kind of why we went with the lot size. We did, we wanted the frontage lots along the highway to look the best they could. And this is our plan that we came up with, that we thought best legalized the property and made it look the best it could.
And once again, those storefronts are in line with the rest of the businesses.
Correct, the three, I'm sorry, Deb,
No.
the three, the green, red, and blue buildings are in exact alignment with the Humane Society and Jensen's, or James Steel building. And obviously there isn't anything on the east road to align with. So we went with, I believe the variance is on the site call for 25 feet now, and that's what we've got it plotted at.
So I'm sorry, I got you off track.
Yeah, that's okay.
The first one was the minimum lot requirement.
So we're asking for this, the side lots to be just over half acre and the frontage lots to be, they're pretty close to the same, within 1/10 of an acre, I guess.
Is everything in gray gonna be asphalt?
Correct. Well, the side, it depends on the size of buildings that would be erected on that lot. So obviously, if those were bigger buildings on the east side, there would be less asphalt. Or it could be grass. if they did not need rear access to those buildings. So the green 4-acre part could extend to the back of those 3 smaller buildings on the east side, if they did not need delivery to the back of those buildings.
But we will get the landscaping on the boulevard, so to speak.
What is your time frame here on?
Hopefully the first building is gonna go up ASAP. And then, depending on, if we build the spec buildings ourselves or if we sell properties, I have, another interested party putting up another one the same size as the blue one on the frontage. And that one would also go up, I would assume, April, May.
Is there a chance that there will only be 2 buildings on the frontage at 250?
It's possible. Our feeling is if we don't sell the lot, we will build another building ourselves, the same size as this.
Right now, it looks.
For a spec building?
For a spec building.
Right.
Yeah. We want the 3 frontage ones along Highway 50 to look as cohesive as possible. Not necessarily all the same color, but same size, same look. We're striving to get the entire project to look like it was a planned, you know, the whole thing was planned and done at one time, not hodgepodge here and there.
You want to be the first one east of 8th Street or wherever, going out that way, right?
Right, yeah, right.
So James Still's gonna be right to the east of you.
The
Humane Society.
Yes.
It's in that corner grass piece there.
Right,
That's
so
across from Sid's.
the driveway that you see directly across from this one is the Humane Society
The
driveway.
driveways are opposite each other on the road on Oak Lane.
Right. Yeah.
Right there, that's,
Yep.
this is the Humane Society right there.
Yep. So you need a variance of how much?
In a lot size.
Lots. Just a minimum lot size?
Correct.
Any further questions from Ms. Waller? All right, thank you, sir. Costigan, I'm sorry. No, worse. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak against this project? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this project? No discussion, we'll return to the plan commission for any further discussion or motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance on the lot size for the 3 up front to, from 2 acres to .87 and the 3 going up Oak Street from 2 acres to .51 acres.
Roll call, Denise.
Butch Becker,
Yes.
Dan Boothmore,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Zane,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, the next item, applicant Jeff Coster is requesting the variance of minimum yard requirements on 3 lots, front yard from 100 feet to 65 feet, and a variance of minimum yard requirement on 5 lots, front yard from 100 feet to 25 feet in a commercial district in Yankton County. Said property is legally described as block 4, except lots 31, 32, and 33, Sunrise Edition, section 10, township 93 north, range 55 west, hereinafter referred as Mission Hill, South Township, County of Yankton, State of South Dakota, 911 address is to be announced, Oak Street, Yankton, South Dakota. Mr. Coster, you want to tell us about this one?
So we're asking for, Pat, is it just one variance? The front?
It's a variance of multiple lots.
Okay.
Okay, so just helping you up a little bit here, here's where the building site is, you got your plan in front of you there, so we're looking at the building site within those dotted lines. That is 65 feet from the lot line.
That's consistent with the other buildings to the east? Okay.
Yes, and 65 feet, it's a 100-foot setback from the commercial district. So he's looking for that 35 feet there, okay? And then this one is also a 100-foot setback because it's Oak Street.
Right.
It's a front yard. So this one, we're asking for a variance of what, guys? It's the same as that.
25, variance is 75,
Okay.
100 to 25.
And why does it have to be that close to the road?
The front of that building, because of your lot size, the front of your building, and going back, why does it have to look, when you look at his plan, with the building sizes create a parking area out in the front, which they can have their, because these are commercial
That's
businesses.
25 feet?
But that's more than 25 feet from the
From the center of the road.
lot
Yeah,
line.
they can't build 25 feet, it's in our government, so that they can't build 25 feet from the lot lines.
Right.
Okay. But this here with the car parked out in front, you're gonna have about 18, 20 foot for the vehicle. When you look at the,
Yeah, because you wouldn't have two rows of vehicles.
Yeah, that, it would be,
no, we're looking at the ones on the upper right of that picture.
Yeah, 34, 35, 36.
that would vary depending on how big the building is, obviously.
Right.
But they can push the building out farther. Those are just,
So you're gonna have other lot requirements if you're going further back or further wider.
correct.
I mean, as far as side lots.
So they can't build 25 feet from the side lot lines or the back or the front. Follow me?
Right.
Okay.
Because you're gonna need some room from where the lot is to get to park in front of you.
Right, so that, by having our covenants about 25 feet from our lot lines, it kind of centers that building on that
Right.
half acre.
Any reason you didn't make those lots just a tad bigger?
It's just what really fit. We didn't have a size in mind. I wanted them bigger than a half acre, and they just happened to fall just a little bit bigger.
So if it's 25 feet and pickup, crew cab pickup is about 21 feet, and then you got 4 feet per sidewalk in front of the building, you're gonna be right on the street.
There's a ditch there though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there is
that's
this.
right.
Pretty good size.
I would say that ditch is probably,
20 feet.
yeah, if Bob was there, he could probably, I'd say it's at least 20 feet.
Those trees that you got there, I mean, they're gonna take, I'm not sure you're 25 feet.
Small trees.
I suppose. Scrub pine.
That's probably, there's.
So if that's, if we got a real concern here about whether there's room,
25 from the,
there's all kinds of space in the green space to push back a ways, isn't there?
Correct, correct.
that's why I asked.
I was thinking that we go back just a little further.
Yeah, those buildings are just set on there to give you guys an idea, but they can be pushed way back, you know.
What you're asking for is 25 feet from the front of that building
To the lot line.
to the lot
Oh,
line in front.
I don't even think you'd want to build them that close, really.
No.
would you?
Plus there's a ditch there that's about 20 feet.
This is, as we were building this, we went with some specs, but there's a good point you're pointing out there. Maybe it isn't 25 feet, he's already asking 25 feet and so can we give an additional 25 feet? So we 50 feet off the lot line?
He's asking for 25.
So should we ask?
25 is gonna put you at the ditch though.
You have a very good point, as we work our way through this.
Will it obstruct any view from the road?
Right now, the ordinance is 100 feet, okay? Well, if we're gonna allow this project, right now, we know that if we do 25 feet, these buildings are gonna be up here, correct?
Right.
Okay, and that's a good point. Do we want those buildings that close to the road, or should we push them, make them at least go back another 25 feet?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think Jeff would,
Jeff
I
has
don't
to
think he'd
talk
want
with
them
me
that close
about
to the
that,
road.
put that together, we can make that change here now, and.
I don't think you have to go 50, but you know, even if you went 25 feet. If you want another 15, you'll make it 40 feet. That extra 15 feet is huge.
Do we want room in there?
This building's 20 feet, you couldn't even back a car out.
Yeah, look at your driveways.
He's got 175-foot lots. Look at your plan, they're 175-foot deep and 125-foot wide.
So if he was 50 feet off the lot line, he'd still have that.
And that meets his,
You gotta have the backyard.
yeah, in the backyard.
So you got 100-foot building going. That'd give you 100-foot buildings.
50 would make it so you could back a pick up out.
So you put a 100-foot building in there, so now we got 75 feet to work with, that's what
There's
15
also,
foot down.
that's also, it doesn't show it on here, but on the plan, it shows it lining up with those front buildings,
Yeah.
with the east side of the blue building. It makes that 25 foot, there's more amount, it really drops off after that now. And once, I mean, there's gonna be some dirt work done to get this now looking right.
Right. There's, when you come in that driveway, with the blue building, because we have a stake, obviously we have a stake, there is ample room because of how big that ditch is there. To drive
But
a
the
car.
ditch is really in the green area where the driveway comes on either side of the driveway.
This would be the tan stuff.
Right, yeah, the
The
tan part.
the green and the tan from the road. The road right of way actually goes up to your asphalt. Or as you go to the green. Because the road right of way go from.
That's the ditch there.
Here, that's where the ditch is.
That's the ditch, that's
But
right.
from the center road, how wide is that road now?
66.
66 feet.
25 feet from the edge.
So you got, from the center, you're going over 33 feet.
33 and a third,
And then this building that the blue, the one that you're gonna go up to, that side, or that lot line, that building is 25 feet.
This is showing
from the lot line.
25, it's showing 25 off the lot line here,
Yeah.
which, if we were looking at that would put these buildings right here,
There's enough room to get around.
yeah. 'Cause this here lines up with this grass, that grass, and that grass. So your buildings shown here are probably back closer to 50 feet.
Correct.
Yes, I would agree with that.
So that would make more sense for parking with the ditch there and whatever you have.
Could get the septic,
If that would work.
less variance. And covers that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So you can live at 50 of it.
I can.
I think it would be better.
Thank you. You bet.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak against this variance? Anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the variance? No public input, we'll go back to planning commission for discussion or motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the variance for minimum yard requirement on the 3-lot front yard from 100 feet to 65 feet, and a variance of minimum yard requirement on the, it said 5 lots, is it 5 lots? Front yard from 100 feet to 50 feet in the commercial district.
The 5 lots have to do with the 3 on Oak Street and east side, 1 on East Side Drive. 4 on Oak Street, 1 on East Side Drive.
I don't think it should say that, should it?
Yeah, it'll go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Oh, anybody want to second it?
I'll second that.
Call for discussion.
Discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, the question is that, are these gonna each have septic tanks or septic systems, or are they gonna be all tied into?
No, they would each have their own septic system. If those buildings required water at all, right?
Unless they were just storage.
Plus their storage, correct?
What's the requirement for a septic system on a lot that size?
Same as always. I mean, it's just the requirement, 100-foot drain field,
Half acre.
1,500-foot minimum tank, and then half acre. Yeah.
This just meets the half acre, 25 1.
And, And again, like he says, if it has the, if it has the restroom facilities, then it has to have the septic.
Any further discussion? Roll call, Denise.
Deb?
Yes.
Butch?
Yes.
Zane?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Eric? Dan?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, 8:30, agenda item is Yankton Energy. Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for manufacturing to build an ethanol plant in commercial district in Yankton County. Said property is legally described as Lot 1, except lots 2 to 5. Lot 1, Dakota Rail Park subdivision, and accepts Lot R-31, Section 21, Township 94 North, Range 56 West, hereinafter referred to as Utica North Township, County of Yankton, State of South Dakota. 911 address is 30668 436th Avenue, Utica. If a representative from Yankton Energy would like to present their proposal, name and address, and then tell us.
All right, Matt Winsand, CEO of Dakota Plains, owner of the industrial park at Napa Junction.
Okay, so here's your park. Okay, the road going in there, you're not familiar with that. So the road goes in, that's a state grade road, comes up from Highway 50, goes along your boulevard, comes across 307. It's all county road now, goes in the facility. There's the round track, it's in place. Okay, with that said, then these are some examples and site plans of what he's referring to. So this one, and this one. With the rail
Go back to
there.
the other one, and where is your existing facility on that map?
Okay, so then.
All right.
Down,
Yep, so I'll explain it. So currently, that's the shop that's out there. This is actually the grain elevator. Office sits right up here. This is actually that new pellet mill, which we had sold at 12.5 acres to Dakota Protein. That's the pellet mill that sits out there. Footings in the ground so far to date. So the new proposal is Yankton Energy, which a representative also of Yankton Energy, which is a partnership between Mr. Jepson that's in the room tonight, as well as Dakota Plains and a few other partners. What we're proposing, we're in the design stage right now. Fagan Incorporated is our design builder. I know Ms. Loest is in the room. She has a ton of experience with ethanol plants as well as the Fagan Group. So I'll let her answer the technical questions on the ethanol plant. We're proposing it inside the loop. One thing that we've done when we started this process was we developed an industrial park. We built the road to 500 plus truck day traffic. So everything's been done. We've done for this. This is basically in addition to a Dakota Plains operation. So office staff would be the office as exists today. The traffic pattern would be the same traffic pattern that exists today. So with that said, I'll open it up to questions.
So, as far as the area that you're proposing to be built in, is that, it's not wetland or anything like that there?
No, you can actually see the designated dotted line. That's the 100-year floodplain. That's where that sits. Actually, this wetland down here is the one we mitigated when we built, because of where the loop track went through in a few spots. We actually mitigated this new 1.4 acre wetland for the project of Dakota Plains because of the railroad track.
So is your funding in place?
Funding is in place. We've got a couple of investment bankers as well as a couple large companies putting the equity into the project.
Are they needing propane, natural gas, what?
Obviously natural gas is key, so we've got that problem worked out. We're currently in the process of establishing a private gas line, which would basically follow the 306th Avenue all the way east to I-29. That would be existing as a private gas line. And the story behind this, some of you have heard, to get gas out of the Yankton city currently, we have to upgrade a whole network system, not just the pipeline coming into Yankton and adding 5 miles of pipe out to the plant. It's actually an $87.5 million upgrade. My prior life before coming to Dakota Plains, I was in investment banking and private capital in Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas has got a lot of gas and oil guys. Some of them were my partners, so we've worked with them to find an existing company, that company's called Major Pipe Company. They're out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. They're currently actually in the process right now building a gas line for a new Zeal Farm soybean crush plant in Michigan, which they are actually running their own private gas line to that as well. State of South Dakota's a unique place for a private gas line. You're allowed to build a private gas line in South Dakota as long as you keep it under 50 users. It does not follow any PUC regulations. It's not a regulated entity like a Northwestern or Mid-America. The nice thing about this is we've had some preliminary discussions with some of the companies on the gas side. What this would actually do to benefit Southeast South Dakota is anything along that 33 and a half mile corridor where that pipe runs. Example, City of Allen, a tap down to Irene, a tap at the end of the location where it hits here could actually be rerouted back into Yankton, the city of Yankton, to service the need that's already here. So each one of those taps is considered one. So let's just use as an example, if Mid-America Energy wanted to put a tap in down here to service the 5,000 homes and businesses that are in the lake area that do not currently have natural gas, that's considered one tap for us. After they leave our tap, they would follow under the PUC regulations after they hit that 50. So it does bring a unique opportunity for not just the industrial park, but everything to be upgraded. And that's if the utilities want to do that. But for us, we've got the commitment, we've got the funding, we're in the process of the permitting to get that gas line built from 29 over to the site.
What model of, I know there's different, there's Poets, there's Great Lakes, there's Nugent. What model is this?
So it's a Fagan design build.
Fagan?
Yep.
Okay.
This one will be a little bit different than what Sherry's probably been used to. It's a Fagan Vogelbush one that's going to be built. And the reason for that is one of the main investment partners, this ethanol plant, we haven't nailed down the size yet. It's anywhere between a 120 and a 180 million gallon plant. We haven't finalized that number yet, which is just adding a few more columns. If you could see that blowing up, those two end ones on that one are actually for future, is what it says. The reason that we're doing a Vogelbush is because 70% of the production will be fuel grade ethanol, and the other 30% of this production will be a grade B ethanol, which is what we use for an export market, and other countries will actually refine that grade B ethanol into, it can be brought back to a food grade alcohol. So that's kind of what we're looking at currently. Is it's a 70-30 split percentage wise. That's what's, it'll be a little bit different plant than what has been built around this area.
Modified, dried?
Well, modified, obviously, it works really great logistically if you know what's across the river. A lot of cattle feedlots, so there's quite a few on this side too. But we're proximity for wet distillers is great. We will dry as much as we can. The benefit of that being, as you'll see, we've actually worked with Dakota Protein to actually run a conveyor for dried EDGs right over to the pellet mill. That pellet mill currently is designed to add, there's 2 lines going in, there's room for 4 additional lines of pelleting in that building. So they wouldn't take all the dry distillers grain that this would produce, but they'll take a pretty good percentage of it.
So you plan to utilize the rail track as well?
Yep, again, we'll probably add an additional, that, you can see up here, that's actually what we call our bad order track. It's a spur that comes off inside our loop. That'll be continued around again to the backside of the elevator and connect down to the south end of our loop. So there'll be another track in there, and then as you can see down here, this is property that Dakota Rail Park is currently purchasing from the state of South Dakota to add. I think we can put 4 more lines and store 160 cars down there as well. So what, in a partnership, we're not part of Dakota Rail Park. We told Dakota Rail Park if they can get that 2.8 acres bought from the state, we'd give them that additional sliver of land. I think it's another 2.3 some acres, so they'd have 4 acres to build, a little over 4 acres to build railroad tracks on for storage.
So provided this gets all approved, what's your timeline?
If this all gets approved, hopefully this summer would be some groundbreaking this summer. An ethanol plant, again, I'm gonna put Sherry on the spot here, but there's a lot of dirt work and stuff involved underground first before that can go, so I would look at dirt work, hopefully start this sometime this summer. Again, we haven't come to a size. We have, with talks with Fagan, right now the standard pricing for a model is about $1. You were there too, so I'll lean on Chuck too a little bit on this one, but they told us the price range without underground dirt work and stuff is about $1.35 a gallon. So if you add 10 cents more in for dirt work per gallon, you know, you're looking at anywhere from a $200 to $250 million project.
And that's how you bid the construction, is that way?
Yeah, you bid the construction. Fagan's take it from the ground up, so everything underneath's got to be done from the. We're in charge. Yankton Energy's in charge of getting the ground ready. Yep. And again, for just a quick clarification too, just energy-wise, just so that some of you that are in the room that maybe don't know this, but up in this corner over here is the BY Electric substation. Down in this corner down here is the Northwestern Energy transfer station, not a substation, a transfer station. And the unique part of our property is that this quarter section line, this side is Northwestern Energy's territory, this side is BY Electric territory. So wherever the powerhouse sits, with again the state of South Dakota, it is over a 2 meg, so it can be a biddable project for both electric companies to service it. So that hasn't been chosen yet.
Hopefully competition will be working in favor then.
Yes. And just to clarify, yeah, this is just a rendition of one of Fagan's builds. I think this one's actually in Fairmont. So this is just an example. I wanted everybody's driven by one, they know what they are. The unique difference between obviously a greenfield project like this is we're more of a brownfield project because we've already got the roads, we've already got the elevator, we've already got the office. We already got a lot of the retention ponds for drainage. You know, a lot of that stuff's already done from what we did when we came out there.
Employees?
Again, depending on size, 50 to 75 full-time employees with a payroll, again, depending on gallons, $3 to $4 million payroll.
All right, thank you. How much water do they use?
1 million gallons a day.
Oh, wells.
The nice thing about, we have 3 options that we're currently looking at, and I know I'll put Nancy's on the spot because Nancy's here tonight. I'm also part of the YPG committee. We've looked at that whole area out there, not just the Dakota Plains portion, but the property to the west as well. YAPG's put a plan together of routing water in one of 3 ways. One being the well system, because we do sit on a very large aquifer out there. That consists of a water treatment plant. The city of Yankton also has enough with their new upgrade. We'd have enough water to run a pipe out there, and then we also have the option of BY water as well. So we have some options. We just haven't clarified what that option is going to be yet.
If you do that with the city of Yankton, would you have to have a negotiation with BY since the 26 rules on rural water.
Right, so BY's ultimate say in it, right, unless we drill wells. Exactly.
So, this plus the pellet plant is going to contribute to paying off the TIF, excuse me.
Yeah, so the tax increment district that we have is Dakota Plains. Every property that was built on our 192 acre piece helps speed that process up, yes. So the valuation, just so that we just went through our first valuation on the TIF. Dakota Plains wasn't fully evaluated in 2017. So in 2018, our taxes were just over $206,000. We agreed on the note that we have through the county that we're liable for all payments made on that road. The payment for that road is over $350,000. So we wrote a check for the additional amount this year. Going forward, our assessed value now, the largest assessed value, fortunately for you guys, unfortunately for me because it's my P&L, but is over 29 million, so it's the largest assessed asset in all of Yankton County with a tax bill of just over 441,000. So that will more than pay that liability that we have. And again, the note is written that all taxes are paid to that. So we're not just making the minimum $300,000 payment and taking the rest. All that money goes towards principal.
And that's before this edition.
That's before this edition.
Matt, talk a little bit about environmental issues that may surround an ethanol plant.
Never ran an ethanol plant before. Maybe Sherry wants to add some of that for me, but you know, an ethanol plant is self-contained. When it comes to the water, everything that leaves the plant is tested before it's discharged. Air permitting is the same as any type of air permit that we currently have. I don't know exactly where you want me to go with that, Don, but there's a lot of them. I mean, you look at the one in Turner County at Marion. It's right there, right on the edge of town. We're in a prevalent northwest wind area. So, I think the people of Marion haven't complained about the one that's sitting up there, and that's been there for quite a few years now.
There's also a plant in Scotland too.
Yep, Scotland's right in town. Yep. A lot of the plants that you'll see actually, I was just down at Ord, Nebraska. In Ord, that one's right in town. There's a lot of them that are right in town. So.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Matt.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this project?
Good evening, Nancy Winandy. My personal residence is 1205 Peyton Lane. I'm speaking on behalf of Yankton Area Progressive Growth. This is a great project for Yankton. These are the types of projects that we like to have to come to the county. We've been talking about the opportunity zones and how we can capitalize on those for our county, having 2 of them in the county. And this is hopefully an opportunity to continue to expand on growth in the county. We appreciate the investment and the time that they've taken into the entire project out here and utilizing the funds that they've been able to acquire. When I started my job, actually even before I started my job, I kept hearing about natural gas. We need more natural gas. Yankton needs, to figure out how to get more natural gas. And I commend the group that has been working on that to have the privatized line. I had some concerns about that and spoke with the governor's office multiple times, and they said, absolutely, this is a great thing for Yankton because of those under 50 taps that could come off and help surrounding communities, help Yankton, help the lake area. So it really is a good project for everybody. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of this project?
I like progress, Louis Johnson about it. And I can't believe all the work that Matt and Nancy and whoever else all was involved in it to bring this many loose ends together. And I think it's wonderful when you take private business and let them do it. I think that's wonderful. They went out, they made partnerships, they made deals, they did whatever they had to. And it's gonna help every grain farmer. I'm not gonna say the livestock feeders are gonna be happy, but then again, if there's more distillers' grains to feed, they make excellent feed. But I personally like growth, because if you do nothing in 20 years, what are you gonna have? Nothing. If you do something in 20 years, you could have a lot more. And when NAPA first came up 5-6 years ago, all we heard was, oh, it won't work. It's gonna be a disaster. Nobody will show up. And suddenly there's a lot of activity out there. The world didn't quit turning, and life goes on. But I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Any other opponents? Yes, sir.
Leonard Chop from Yankton. Yeah, this is my wife. She's got a lot of health problems. Would any of you want to live right next to it? Pat, bring up the big map. My house and the boy's house shows up, and I'm going to point it out to him. Okay, right there. Right there's my place, and my boy lives right there. And right now, he's working at the aluminum plant. He won't get out of there till about 5 in the morning, and he'll sleep all day. Somebody's gonna have to compensate him for that. How would you like to be kept awake all day with the racket? Matt, front and center, military style. I said front and center.
Leonard, I'll come up with you there. Yeah, we've had a lot of hard discussions.
I served 6 years in the military, so you gonna listen to me.
Okay, I love to listen to you, Leonard. We've been through this 1,000 times.
You guys started out wrong when you started dirt work up there. I darn near turned you guys into the Corps of Engineers.
Your land's drained better than it ever has since we've been there.
Not really.
Yes, it has, Leonard.
I know my fields.
Well, it's
You know
smaller
where
than
it
it's ever
runs?
run. Through our place.
Right down into my root cellar in the house, a lot of it.
No, well, yeah.
Yeah, you don't know the area like I do.
Okay. Well,
Hold it! Matt!
We just gotta stay on the topic. I understand the passion.
I know, but nobody wants to live right next to it.
There's some people live in, well, I'm in town.
I know.
Well, then what are you talking about?
Who's gonna take care of her? Deb, you wanna take care of her?
I guess, Mr. Chop, I'm confused about what it is about this plant that's gonna affect your life. I'm sorry.
She's got on dialysis.
What does that have to do with the plant?
The smell from it gonna knock her down. And the noise. And I hear them crazy truckers coming up there with their jake brakes, clear into my house. So that's gonna be a lot more racket. You can take it any way you like. What's good for the goose is good for the ganders. And there's one sitting right there. He doesn't live by it. He'd rather live in Yankton or in Mitchell, right?
I live in Tabor, right next to a cattle lot.
You're far enough away, you're 10 miles away from it, so you don't even have to worry about it.
Let's get with the background.
Now, I'm gonna go. You know what the old saying is? I don't give a damn if there's leads here or not. Money talks, bullshit walks. You can take it any way you like.
Thank you very much for coming. All right, is there any further discussion from the audience? Well, he was an opponent. Proponent, he was an opponent, never mind, he was an opponent.
No, I'm wrong. I got it.
So, back to the planning commission for discussion or motion.
So just real quickly, the reason why you're doing the CUP is because this is a manufacturing CUP in a commercial district because the employee is more than 10 people. And what's the CUP for is to understand, do we have access? Do we have glare or any of those things? Are they taken care of in this thing? And is the facility able to handle those 4 requirements in a CUP? It's for manufacturing.
Ma'am, are you using any of that money from the state, you know, like, that Toby, you know, like, Dakota,
We haven't looked at that yet, and the reason for it is, we pushed really hard to get Napa Junction, in the area, into that opportunity zone, which is a big deal. Bigger than I anticipated it was. We actually had a call with quite a few large, capital investment bankers, yesterday. This opportunity zone's a big deal. The company that, you know, that we're working with right now has $500 million that they have to spend in the first quarter of 2019. They have to, they have to spend it into an opportunity zone to avoid the taxes. So basically, some of you in here probably have heard or have used maybe even a 1031 exchange. The opportunity zone laws are similar to that 1031 exchange.
Are they open to private applications?
Yeah, it's gotta be around through an LLC, so,
I can make them.
yeah. So basically what I'm saying is that, we haven't looked at any of those funding mechanisms yet, because right now, we've got a lot of cash sitting on the sidelines that, basically what they're doing is they have assets that they've sold, that they have to, just like a 1031, they have to designate a spot. It's all gonna be used in the first quarter. Right now, currently, the group that we are in talks with, they have, $500 million in the first quarter, $500 million in the second quarter, and $500 million in the third quarter that they've gotta do something with. And this sits in a great opportunity zone, portion, so that's kinda where we're at today. But will I say, will we be back for something? Maybe. I don't know yet about today.
So, I have this good next to a plant, how noisy is this plant?
I would just recommend a drive to Marion, I guess. I mean, there is noise, but it's not.
We're talking about, you know, noise, is it noisy?
Well, there's trains coming in and out a little bit more than what we are. You know, it runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So yeah, there's gonna be some noise. I can't argue that point. Again, most ethanol plants are built right in or next to a town, so I understand Leonard's concern. Leonard and I have been around and around and around since the first day my shovel went in the ground out there. Leonard's a great guy. We've worked really well together. We've had laughter, conversations, standing on that railroad tracks. He's yelled at me. We've shook hands. We've done everything but hug. So I think it's just I understand his concern. I know there's a group out there that would love to buy Leonard's land. If you would sit down and talk to him, I'm sure that could be arranged too. So if that helps you answer the question.
I make a motion, we approve the conditional use permit for Yankton.
I'll second that.
Denise? Any further discussion? Denise, roll call?
Yes. Don?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Zane?
Yes.
Butch?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes. All right, that brings us to the 8:40 time, and this is the time for public comment. I don't know if anyone had signed up for public comment to address any particular issue not addressed in the meeting, or, and it cannot be like a personal vendetta. Is there any people for tonight, Pat?
No personal.
All right, the next item on the agenda is Julian Ryland, Phil Tao, Ryland River Rat Cabin LLC update, accessory structure discussion. So I believe, Pat, that is your story.
Just to keep you up to date with what we're working on there, you have it in front of you with different things I've done. Remember, this started July 30th with the photometry situation in which we had a structure that was built. I sent them a letter and requested them to come in. It was listed then at that time under Julian Ryland. We did come in, we did have a hearing. The hearing resulted in, we had two of them. And the first one resulted in, and this would have been on September 11th. And this one resulted in that we were looking for the minimum variance requirement, you folks remember that? And that, that was 4 yay and 2 nay on this one. And then we came back in October, and this is the one in which the variance was denied because the property changed ownership. And so after that, I wrote a letter to Mr. Tao and Ms. Ryland, and I asked them to please note the findings of fact that we did for September 11th and October 9th regarding the variance violation, and that would they please stop in my office by November 21st. We did not get anyone to stop into my office on November 21st, and on November 26th, received a letter that was dated November 19th, in which, and you have that in front of you, in which that letter said that we have every intention of getting this matter resolved. There were several things in here. We'll just read it. He stated that we are currently in Arizona for Thanksgiving holiday and will not be able to visit your office. Further, we have business meeting out of town on December 11th and will not be available to that planning commission meeting. We have every intention of getting this matter resolved. After the last couple of meetings to move this matter along, we have our doubts about how this matter will proceed. Your office has not made us aware of what violations need to be addressed, how they will need to be addressed, in what order they need to be addressed, and what this process may entail. We have had some discussions regarding this, tried to answer your questions and research the history of the property, but you have not specifically listed what needs to be done. The issues have been raised at hearing belay our trust in your office as well. Those who spoke against this variance and permit certainly have the right to do so. However, the issues they raised are not researchable and can only come from your office with information we provided to you. This causes us to question our ability to move forward in a reasonable and expeditious manner. Please inform us regarding these matters so we may address them in a factual and professional manner. This was also sent to Mitch Peterson and Rob Clemish. I have done this over again. I've not received any response, but I did receive an affidavit from Mr. Tao that claims that we are being, I'm not going to read the whole affidavit, but he does claim that we have deceived quality of life and that we are not being honest and forthcoming and information in our office.
What did they say? The first statement you made was what?
We are deceiving quality of life people. That quality of life people have come in 4 to 5 days a week requesting information from, they say Garrity all the time, about any new conditional AFO informations and filings regarding the properties or applicants involved in the 7 conditional uses.
How does that apply to what we're talking about here?
He continues to come back and say that he does not have trust in this office. And this came on December 6th. So this is the last correspondence I got from him.
You might not have trust in the office, but I don't think the trust in what you do or Denise does. The issue that I distinctly remember is we had like 2 distinct ones. A garage was built within like 3 feet of the property line, and there was a second house being rented out, a single family property, and no permits for the garage, no permits for the house, and the second house doesn't have an individual 911 address. And I don't think that the property is big enough that it could be split, so I think his letters are opinion that they're not relevant to the issues that are from us to him.
And I thought the findings were quite clear. If you've read the letter, and we included the findings in those letters, if you read this that's in your packet, I thought the findings were quite clear what we needed, which were both of those things listed. And I have still not gotten any response from Mr. Tao. I have asked Mr. Clemish to take a look at this and see what I get for a response.
But even with this listing, I did not get a response or phone call from them. So I am in the process of visiting with Mr. Clemish and see when he will come in.
Let's just take Mr. Clemish's advice.
And so that's where I am. And we will do the hearing when he comes in, but I am trying. I have kept constant communication, and I'm doing as best I can to bring him in. We were expecting him to be in December 11th.
On a different matter, if I may, what's the status of the fire and ice lawsuit?
Status of the fire and ice is that we have a lawsuit that he says that I have to go to court.
Yeah, we can talk about this in public.
Can we talk about this, I suppose, in a sense? There is currently, he will not come in for a conditional use permit because he feels he does not have to. And so I'm working with Rob on that.
We'll set aside enough time at our next meeting, that we have time for the county attorney to address this.
Yeah, that's up to the county attorney's opinion.
Exactly.
The other thing we have on our agenda there is discussion of the accessory structures, and obviously it's late again. And so we will continue to work on that project in the future, and that will continue to fall on that administrative duties until we can get to it. Unless you want to stay, it's only 10 to 11.
I'm fine, 5 comes early, but, so the next motion,
I'd make a motion that we adjourn.
Jeff,
So we'll make a second for. All in favor? Aye.